Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat from the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Greg, I don't know what you think we do here on Tuesdays exactly, besides promote all of the things that you have, a podcast and now a book we're going to be promoting today. So I don't know what you think we do. But just generally speaking, if before the show we're wandering around as people who have done this for 20 years and you squawk at some point, fraud Swede.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I think, oh, Cody's got something on pole vaulting, and so then I go to you when the show starts, and what happens? You ask Billy a question.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the only former pole vaulter among us.
I know,
Expert,
but
yeah.
you had a strong opinion. You had a strong opinion that I'm still waiting for after you said you have a ton to talk about on pole vaulting.
Yeah. Mondo. Billy, answer me this. Is Mondo
another question?
Is Mondo a Swedish citizen?
If he spends half his time in Sweden, half his time in U.S., I would assume so. I think you'd have to be a citizen to compete for the country.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well.
But he was born in the U.S., is that correct? He was born in the U.S. So I don't like this where guys are born in a certain country and they're playing a sport for another country.
No,
it's ridiculous. It's absurd.
They shouldn't be allowed. Mondo should
This is your Olympic take now, guys?
You heard of Joel Embiid? Or?
Yeah, I don't think you're aware of how much that actually hurts the U.S. more.
Okay. I'm going to look this up right now.
This is going to be a bit of a gauntlet
today.
Today.
He's looking it up.
I've got two people here.
I did nothing.
But the two of you are aggressively ignorant, anti sort of
immigration.
Okay, I take it back. He does have dual citizenship.
But he's got paperwork.
Well, that changes everything.
That changes everything, unfortunately. Yeah. I still think he should be made to relinquish his medal, but.
His medal?
He's more legit than I thought he was.
Why should he have to relinquish his medal?
Well, he was born in the United States.
Yeah, it's weird.
So Greg Cody gets to decide what citizenship you have, what nationality you are.
Yeah, you got to draw the line. Okay. My grandmother was born in Canada. It doesn't make me Canadian.
Sports are where you will find all sorts of things in politics. Just know that's the America of the future if somebody wins. Just know that, yes, I get to decide who everybody's nationality
Greg
is.
gets to decide.
That's right. Me Maximum.
No, yes, me Maximum is going to be president of the United States.
I'm just saying the Olympics began as country versus country. So it's the U.S. athletes versus the Swedish athletes.
I just want to be clear on something, Stugotz, because I don't want to make these games geopolitical. They have been blessedly free of any sort of free-ish.
You have 35 athletes from Belarus, I believe, in Russia, who are competing on a team that's been described as not a team.
All right, you know what? You are correct. We will find any manner of malfeasance here that we can wrap a number of flags in. Sports absolutely does that. But to have these two guys in here as the aging demo on what it is the Olympics should be during what feels like some of the best Olympics we've had since blank. Like
84.
It's been a while, for whatever reason, that America has felt like it gathered around a television set to care about pole vaulters. It's been more than a decade.
Yeah, well, the last Olympics was swallowed by the pandemic, and the 20 games were actually played in 21. So I think we were predisposed to love anything that was actually taking place on time in front of huge crowds, let alone in a cinematic, gorgeous setting of Paris. So, but I agree with you. I think it's been a wonderful games.
Well, there's no disagreement to be had on that. Like there's somehow consensus about, like you'll dislike things here and there and argue about things here and there, but you can find wonderful stories. Look, man, it's the best of sports in little cubes. Like they're giving you nonstop stimuli. Mike Ryan yelled at me as we're starting the show, Patty Mills is going off.
International Patty Mills is a problem. Might be a basketball Hall of Famer.
He's
when
a
this
different
is all said
player.
and done.
You're right.
They're up 20 on Serbia right now in the quarterfinal. This is a big upset for Australia.
Put it on the poll. Is International Patty Mills a basketball Hall of Famer at Le Batard Show?
Everyone gets in, Dan.
Which other athletes, Greg, should not be allowed to compete for the country that they live in, partially or full time? Just so we know, like clearly, which what your stance is here.
Decisions this momentous have to be vetted and researched. I would need to be given a list, but basically, you should be competing for the country of your birth or the country of your first citizenship. In my opinion.
So if you leave a country because they have like an oppressive regime and you immigrate somewhere else, you should have to go back to that country if you want
Just
to be
to be clear.
No, I think that's an exception to the rule.
Okay, so the rule.
Well said.
Well,
Yes.
it's good that you think you should change the rules, but basically you think you should change the rules, me maximum, so you get to decide what an American is.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, Sweden does not have an oppressive government or nation. I could be wrong. I'm going to have to talk to my Swedish friends to determine that, but I don't think
so
that
it's by country then? You get to choose by country, like.
But it is
this
you
country
choosing.
good, this country bad.
It is you
somebody
choosing.
said I'm happy to be the commissioner of the Olympics.
The athlete themselves needs to be born in a certain country. It can't be the parents.
Greg is just saying when he watches the Olympics, he wants to know that he's watching Americans. When he's watching Team USA, he wants to know they're all from the United States
is
of America.
really-
Under Greg's rules,
that's what
like,
Greg is
U.S.
saying.
soccer
That's
has
all.
no shot.
Yikes.
I
We've
can't
got
believe
no
what's
shot with your
happening
rules.
around me. You're
all he's
focused.
saying.
We should change the subject.
I have a question, Greg. So, like, I
thought we could do this as spoof. They're not
Well, hold
playing
on.
the game correctly.
I heard him workshop in a Biles take. Let's just go away from the gymnastics entirely.
I think the big story with Mondo, by the way, is the fact that he wants his dad to be the coach. This guy is very good. He's top of the line, right? Top shelf at what he does.
He's
Holds
a
that world
mercenary.
record.
He's
So
a
he's the best.
mercenary.
Well, yes.
Did you hear Billy's part of the story? The only reason that he's winning, identifying the way he is because he negotiated his dad as coach.
I know, and that's a terrible
If I
job
read
by
the
the
internet
United
right.
States of America. Like, if Michael Jordan wants his dad to coach, you and I once said, if it takes Maverick Carter coaching the Heat to get LeBron James, we would allow that. We would want that. And if this guy wants his dad to be his coach, you're the United States, you let his dad be the coach. I mean,
I think both of his parents coach him per the broadcast yesterday because his dad was a pole vaulting champion and his mother was a heptathlete.
Guys, can I just warn everybody, as Marlon Humphrey is learning, there is a whole different aggregation algo when it comes to the Olympics. If you guys decide to do show around Olympics, I don't think you're fully aware of what you're stepping into.
I think our Sweden numbers could go up, to be perfectly honest, good or bad. Like, if they're going to listen to us to hate us, the Swedes, you're welcome to, because we need to up those numbers.
I believe that we need to feed off the hate. I miss feeding off the hate. I don't want to be scared of being aggregated unfairly in the misinformation
racism.
age. But I want to descend a little deeper into where it is Stugotz and Cody might be taking us as men who are going to decide for all of us who gets to be American. I want to play on this third rail for a minute because they don't realize how it is that they sound, and I want to make them alert to it, but also play with it a little bit because of how absurd it is what they're saying.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I almost did something yesterday and then I thought, no, this is mean. I'm not going to do it. And that was, I saw Stugotz's take about Simone Biles, and it was starting to pick up some engagement traction on social media. And I thought, if I retweet this, it might cross over to either gymnastics Twitter or women's sports Twitter, and then he'll start getting some real hate. Like, I think Dan probably wants me to do this, but then I thought, no, I don't want to do this to Stugotz. Some people, don't know Stugotz is doing a shtick, although who knows if that's a shtick or not. I mean, we'll never find out.
Whoa, wait a minute.
So I didn't do it.
Penalty box for you.
What?
2
What?
minutes.
Stick the landing.
Penalty
I mean,
box for caring too much.
To think.
high
I was
sticking.
worried for what would happen to him.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for lying.
lying about the idea that might have been a shtick Stugotz was doing yesterday. He absolutely believes that Simone Biles needs to be better. That's not shtick he's doing.
We got the high shticking joke, so it's a win all around.
All that matters.
In Greg's defense, I feel like Greg's argument really is everyone should compete for America. Not people shouldn't compete for America because they're not American. I think Greg's argument is everyone's American, so they should all compete for America.
And to make clear, when I said that Mondo should have to relinquish his medal, that was before I learned that he did have dual citizenship. Okay? If you're not a citizen of the nation, you should not be allowed to compete for that nation in the Olympics. It doesn't apply to anything else. Well, it applies to international competition. It applies to world championships and everything. Certainly doesn't apply to, teams and leagues. But more power to Mondo. Has a Swedish mom, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You called him a fake Swede. More power to Mondo? You called him a fake Swede.
A feed.
He's a fake Swede in the sense that he was born in this country, went to LSU. Talk about it. You try a Swedish accent out at LSU, and they'll run you out of town.
Put it on the poll. Are there any Swedish accents at LSU at Le Batard Show? I can't believe that we.
It depends on who Brian Kelly is recruiting.
Yeah.
I can't believe that we.
Borky 4-star.
Are the show that descends into age so poorly that Stugotz is trending for ripping Simone Biles.
Ripping?
Yeah.
All I said was stick the landing. I said she's the greatest gymnast we've ever seen. I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's
She
great.
did not deserve to win the vault. Did you see the balance beam last night?
What a nightmare.
She fell off. She didn't win the gold. You need to stay on. The only girl who stayed on, I think it was the Brazilian. She won the gold because she stayed on the beam.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, do you realize the amount of power and momentum that Simone Biles puts forth on the vault?
I do.
So you're asking for her to stick the landing.
I didn't rip her. I watched a sporting event, and I said I thought someone else should have won. What's the big deal?
That was yesterday's take. Very strong. I appreciate your efforts. It's not shtick. It is not. This is who this man is.
Man.
This is who this man is. He thinks Simone Biles needs to be better. I want that to end up in USA Gymnastics Twitter.
I had a moment yesterday when watching the Olympics in prime time, which is like a re-air of what happened during the day. So we already knew the results, but I hadn't seen it play out. And I felt almost un-American, and I didn't like it because America benefited from this, but I felt very bad for Romania, who did not benefit from this. And it was in the floor exercise where Jordan Childs, I guess they made a protest to go against it. Why don't you tell him then?
Can't do that.
Well, it's terrible. They awarded someone the bronze medal, and then they reviewed Jordan Childs' performance on the floor, and they gave her the bronze medal after announcing that someone else had won the bronze medal.
Can't do that.
Correct. She was, I believe, in 5th place at the time, and then there was a protest, and then they redid the scoring, and then all of a sudden she wins the bronze when there was a Romanian gymnast who thought that she had won the bronze and now has lost the medal. So America takes silver and bronze, and where it looked like Jordan Childs was going to finish 5th.
Wait, what? I'm confused. What's her name? Because Stugotz called her something different.
Yes, he put a D in there.
Are you going former governor of Florida or former point guard for Knicks?
I'm not sure what happened. I'm just glad I knew the details around the floor exercise.
He's a big on gymnastics, guys.
Thank you. I am. I love gymnastics.
He's glued to it. I mean, his takes may be questionable, but he's watching.
Lawton Charles.
Let me explain to the audience.
Is that the guy that did a job different every day? Or that was Bob Graham or something?
Bob Graham.
I'll ask Billy Corbin when he's here.
Claude Kirk.
What Stugotz just did during that segment, swaggering, is something that represents the lowest the bar has ever been put in this medium. Because he got the name wrong, and what he sang in only my headphones after doing that little bit where he had 2 sentences of information, he sang in my ear, watching the games, Dan.
Yeah, well, I mean, is he? Because the Brazilian didn't even medal in the beam.
Not retaining the correct information, not watching. He didn't say watching the games correctly, Dan.
Just watching.
He's got a Brazilian winning a medal that you didn't win.
Watching the game.
Stugotz
In the
maybe
background.
lowering the bar, but Mondo, he kept raising the bar. And oh my God, he pole vaulted over, I think it was what, Billy, like 20 feet, 6 inches or something like that. What is like I mean, Greg asked you this, but I'm genuinely curious. Like, what are most college pole vaulters clearing in competitions that you've been at? Because that seems unfathomable.
Well, I'm eliminated from the competition when anyone's close to that. I get out very early if I even cleared the opening height. I was not a good pole vaulter.
Well, I don't think that we have taken full advantage, and Jess and Greg have tried really hard for some reason to make you more of a pole vaulting authority than you're willing to accept.
Well, hold on, what is that supposed to mean? Well, you know what? Now thinking back, the last meet that and granted, I don't mean for this to sound as grandiose as it will. The last meet that I competed in was in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Wow.
At the University of Lafayette,
home of
Louisiana.
the fake Swede.
Right, home of Mondo.
And I'm wondering.
They just call themselves Louisiana right now.
I'm wondering. No, that's Monroe.
No, UL Monroe, Louisiana Raging Cajuns,
that's true.
They don't want to distinguish Lafayette anymore. They are the University of Louisiana.
At the time, they were proud of being Lafayette, which I guess they no longer are, which they should be because they're home of the greatest pole vaulter to ever live.
And Jake Delhomme.
Now, I'm wondering if a little young Mondo decided one day to go over to the Sun Belt Conference Outdoor Championship and be inspired by one Billy Gill pole vaulting. Not to say that I inspired the greatest pole vaulter in the history of the world. I'm just saying it's possible that we crossed paths. He was a young lad at the time. I was wrapping up my career at the moment. It's very possible that a young Mondo was out there watching.
Barry's doing a lot of work in that.
No, it's very possible. I mean, the University of Lafayette, Louisiana, if you're going to watch pole vaulting, would you not go to the Sun Belt Conference Outdoor Championships?
Billy, what month was it? Because you may have been in Sweden during that time of the year.
No, we were no. This was prime pole vaulting time.
It was good weather.
They were hosting the Outdoor Championships.
But were you winning?
Sweden.
Were you winning, or were
no?
Well, why would he be inspired by the guy finishing 12th?
Well, just because he goes and he watched. No, it's first of all
12th.
I believe it was 7th. If we're gonna state accuracy, if journalism is still alive and well, let's report the facts. I believe. Excuse me.
7th place is the tin medal.
Congrats. No, that was 4th.
I would have settled for a tin medal.
4th, 7th.
Same.
At that point, you don't even distinguish.
Yeah.
You're either top 3 or you're nowhere.
Aluminum.
Aluminum. But Billy,
Yes.
I've asked you several times, and you're evading the question. What was the tallest height that you scaled?
The best I cleared, I believe, was
in feet.
14.2.
Very nice.
So it was about 6 feet shy of the world record, which is just one human being.
The whole thing seems aggressive as an event. It seems a scary thing to do. That is not a small height. If you get it wrong, if the stick breaks, if you fall backwards, like a lot of bad things can happen at that height.
I missed the pads once. I landed in the metal box. Wasn't great.
You know what my fear would be?
Did you hear what he said at all there, or you wanted to just you just wanted to get to what you wanted to say? Because there seems to be more on that bone right there.
Okay.
Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, go ahead.
You've been asking him questions about how he pole vaults. He gives you an interesting story, and then you just moved right on.
Well, I might have asked him to elaborate on that. So go ahead, Billy.
Well, I mean, that's the gist of it.
You missed the pads.
Yeah, I wasn't running fast enough, so I went upside down, and then I heard someone scream, and I was like, "Oh, that's not a good sound when you're upside down in the air and someone screams." So then,
before you,
I knew something bad was coming.
So wait! You knew before the scream. You knew before she did that something bad was coming.
Well, no? I heard the scream, and I was like, "Uh-oh!" And instinctually, somehow, look, if you can see the pads here, so that box there is metal. Or at least the one I was using was metal. So I hear the scream, and I was like, that's not what you're supposed to hear if you're doing this right. So I instinctually somehow spread my legs and caught the 2 side pads on my way down. Yeah, I like opened them up to slow myself down. I don't know how I thought to do that. And it did slow me down, but I still hit the box. I completely destroyed my shoulder at the time. I don't think I dislocated it. It was a really bad sprain. To this day, I still have clicks when I rotate it like this because I had physical therapy and I couldn't do it. And at the time, and this is like the bad part, I couldn't drive because my car was a manual car and I did this to my right arm. So I couldn't even drive with my left hand. I'd have to use my right hand to switch the gears into place. So I just very quietly, because I was embarrassed by this, sat in my car and adjusted my seat till it was in a laying position so no one could see me embarrassed sitting in my car as I waited for a family member to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital.
That sounds terrible. I was watching this whole pole vaulting competition yesterday, Billy, and do they bring their own poles?
Yeah, you have to take your own pole.
How do you travel with a pole vault pole?
I used to put it through the middle window in F-250. So I would have it go out the back, and then I'd have it like go very dangerously, like lay on the dashboard and then go out the back window.
I guess I mean on
truck.
A plane.
Yeah.
On a plane, I would assume you check it. There's no way that fits.
Does it have a case like?
You would assume that you.
Does
would
it
check
have a case? Does it have like you would carry a billiard stick? Like you'd show up at the vault and you've got a bigger bag or cooler bag than others. Forgive me, I have a lot of questions as well. I was making fun of Jess and Greg for throwing you questions. But this story, how is it possible that we have spent nearly 20 years doing this, 20 years in September, and that's the first time that we're hearing that story? We've been coming to you for pole vaulting information for 2 decades and never gotten that story.
Well, you guys didn't care about pole vaulting. I knew it. I just kept the show moving along. By the way, Bob Graham, former Florida governor, not Billy. He was an evangelist. So
yeah, that was a strong work by you, Lawton Childs. You make fun of Billy Corbin. You're our less politically adept Billy.
Okay, I'll own that. I don't care.
Lawton, you mentioned Lawton Childs. I want to get back to what Stugotz.
You want to know how you travel with the pole?
Yes.
So like they have containers that you can use. You can also get like giant we stored them in like the backs of trucks, which is not how you should be taking care of your poles, but like it's not, right in the world. Or you could get like a giant PVC pipe or something that you put it in, and then there's like a travel case that you get and you put it in, and then there's different poles. You can use different poles for different heights if you want to. The poles themselves are made of different material. They also have like a different level of flex, so some could be stiffer than others. It's like a personal preference.
Interesting. So, Dan,
they're also scaled for like weights, so like you could do your weight. At the time when I did it in high school, you had to be under the weight of the pole. So like the pole was calibrated for like, let's say 150 pounds. You had to be under 150 pounds or that was the situation. So one time I was there, I had to take off my Under Armour long sleeve that I had under my tracksuit because I was overweight slightly. And then I had to go do a couple laps. Then I reweighed myself. Boom. I was good for the state championship because I got underweight again.
It's like luggage at the airport.
Has there ever been an obese pole vaulter?
It's common.
What kind of question is that?
No, just because I associate pole vaulting. He just mentioned the weight. I associate pole vaulting with, slender people. And I'm just wondering if there's ever been a really fat pole vaulter. Here's my other question. How often do you get to the apex and then fall backward?
That happens too. And I think it happened at the Olympics and someone fell and banged their head on the track.
I imagine so, because that's you're 20 feet in the air. And all of a sudden you're falling backward. That's terrifying.
I got to tell you, when I got into it, and no one cares about any of this, so we'll keep it brief. When I got into it, it was a crazy time in pole vaulting where people were dying regularly. Like they then had to change the size of the pads because it was almost like we were using 2 high jump pads next to each other. And then people were going off the back. They were banging their head. There was helmets that were being used for a time. I wanted to get a helmet because I didn't want to die. I was a young boy. And then, my coach told me you don't actually get high enough to injure yourself if you fall on your head. So you don't really need a helmet.
Since 1980, 20 people have died.
I'm telling you, of those crazy. 20 people, probably 16 were, I want to say, in the year 2002.
Billy, I believe that we may be the only national sports show airing today with a former D1 pole vaulter on it. So I'm so glad that you're here to answer all of our questions about Mondo. Specifically, has there ever been an obese pole vaulter?
Yeah, correct.
But really, I find this fascinating. I think the best part of the Olympics is when there's some kind of niche sport or something that we don't listen to or watch really, and then it goes viral because someone does something crazy in it. And this guy, Billy, correct me if I'm wrong. After you win the gold, you get 3 chances to try to go for a world record. Is that how that works?
No, he won. So he won the meet. Was my understanding of what happened. He won the meet, so he's the only one that was left in it. So when you're the only one left, you can just choose whatever height you want to jump at. And he could have kept going, honestly, because he's not eliminated until he fails 3 times. So he could have gone for another world record had he wanted to. Which when I was watching, I'm why don't you try to go 2 or 3 inches higher and just keep raising the bar, literally.
There has not been somehow nearly enough Greg Cody in this first segment, and at once.
Did he find a fat pole vaulter?
Way too much Greg Cody as well in this first segment. But he has just turned his computer to me with a single Google image of a obese person holding a pole vault, and that is his contributions to the segment, as well as volunteering to decide on behalf of all America who should be American. Juju, can you put it on the poll, please? Has there ever been an obese pole vaulter? And also, can you put on the poll, did you miss the great plague of 2002 pole vaulting deaths? Because Billy is saying most of those deaths took place all in 1 year. And really, he was a hero athlete here locally. He is an FIU legend, I would say. One of the most famous graduates FIU has ever had. And today he returns home. I'm worried about this for a number of different reasons. Our technology has not been great, but you are going to celebrate with your school as a proud alum and a distinguished alum, and what are we allowed to tell the people about what may or may not happen there? What's being announced, and what is it that might, what treasure chest might our audience get from this announcement?
Oh, well, what was put out yesterday was just a press release that at 11 o'clock today, there's going to be an announcement at FIU announcing a partnership between them and Pitbull. So then we were discussing, should we cover this live? And a lot of things have been going wrong behind the scenes. So I assumed we were not doing this. I, in fact, just told Danny I don't think we're doing this today. But we are doing this?
I don't know. I'd like to do it. Roy, what were you laughing about back there?
Jessica had sang a lyric from a song that starts with the letter C. I don't know if I can actually say
Culo.
it. Yeah, okay, she said it. So
Why couldn't you say it? The C word? Like, what is that?
No, not that one.
I don't know the rules about that one.
What are we doing with this? Is Danny now canceling our plans to get Pitbull?
Well, I think Billy canceled the plans.
Well, no. I mean, sometimes you have to be the responsible person in the room. We have a number of guests lined up. We have weekend observations to get to. We have liners to be ready. We have lots of things. Greg's in studio. I don't know how
Don't
polite
forget Game
it is.
Time. Game Time's a big one.
Oh, yeah, big one.
Did you mention Game Time?
I did. I love Game Time. In fact, now that Pitbull's there, I keep getting IG-targeted ads for FIU football, and those prices seem nice, but I could probably get a better price on the Game Time app. That's right, folks. It's the best place for the secondary ticket marketplace because of their low price guarantee. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code Dan. Maybe you want to go to the Cage and watch a football game. Ooh. Believe it or not, that's the first time I met my now wife publicly. We met at an FIU Bethune-Cookman game. If only I had those tickets on Game Time, it might have been even more affordable for me. Use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you, Game Time, and thank you, Pitbull.
There is a lot going on today, and we're having technical difficulties. Now being reported that Tim Walz is the vice presidential candidate selected by Kamala Harris. Pablo Torre will be here in a few minutes to discuss that and some other things. But Greg Cody keeps moving this computer, and I've asked him to keep it in front of me because what he didn't reveal to me, while it is that he was pushing in front of me a photo of a clearly very heavy man pole vaulting, is that is premium photo, extremely obese man pole vaulting, ultra stock photos, AI-generated art.
Of course.
And so it's not real. And Greg Cody's contribution to the segment was to find a fake fat pole vaulter after calling a gold medalist from Louisiana a fake Swede. Right. Those have been your contributions to the show today.
So far, it's early.
It also appears to be a javelin. It's up for debate.
No, it says, well, it may be a javelin, but it does the words say pole vaulting. He just Googled obese pole vaulter, and what came back is the internet gave him somebody who generated a fat pole vaulter who's not real.
Billy, if I may, do the Anfield athletes feel like they get like the shine of the track athletes overshadows them? Because I feel like the Anfield athletes are having a hell of an Olympics between shot putting, discus, triple jump. I'm just it's been
hammer throw too.
Oh, the hammer throw.
So satisfying.
It's not the most glamorous of events, I would say, the Anfield crew. And also, like, I don't know how much of you watched yesterday. It's a very long event to watch. Like, it can last for hours, especially when you have, like, disparities in talent where you have someone that can barely clear the opening bar and then someone setting a world record. Like, You can go on for 4 hours in one of these competitions. It's very long.
They said yesterday it was over 3 hours between the start of the pole vaulting and like the final jump. And there was also an athlete doing high jump the other day. Apparently, they go in like these little sleeping bags in between their jumps. Did you see this? This Ukrainian woman, she ended up getting the gold medal. She like climbed into a little sleeping bag in between her jumps because I guess there can be a really long wait in between jumps, and they want to keep their limbs warm. It was very cute.
A sleeping bag.
Yeah, like a little Coleman sleeping bag.
She can't stay awake.
No,
the next event
to warm her legs.
I mean, you only have her sleeping in it. You don't have her warming
bag.
in it. Okay, so you haven't.
What else do you do?
So you haven't having no other uses.
Right.
Like it just so a sleeping bag isn't a warm bag. It's called so you either sleep in it or get the hell out.
Yeah.
But this is the Olympics. Can we do better than having the contestants bring their own sleeping bags? What are we doing?
That's ridiculous.
Like, figure it out. Figure out something, a place where they can keep their legs warm.
Right.
I made it a game show. It's weird.
A game show.
The
Have
feud.
build a Motel 6 right next to the arena and have them get a room of their own. You know, sleeping bag. What weighs more, a shot put ball or a discus?
This is a great way to cover the Olympics. Greg Cody just wandering in, telling us who's an American and who's not, and then just asking remedial questions about details from the Olympics, and then criticizing the people who don't perform as well as he would like them to perform. Has the Sin claimed any other people with E. coli? Is this still a burgeoning controversy?
Yes, it has. Also, the shot put is 16 pounds and the discus is 4.4 pounds. So the shot put is 4 times the weight, according to Google.
It's 16 pounds?
That's what it said when I just Googled it. It's pretty heavy.
You know what?
I
had it being lights. I mean,
well, I didn't know it weighed that much. I use to give everyone perspective, I use a 14-pound bowling ball. And the idea that I could throw my bowling ball more than 10 feet.
That does give everyone perspective.
Ridiculous.
It does. It makes them understand that people who are shot putting have to be strong to throw something that's heavy. And that concludes our Olympic coverage for the day.
Have you closed the categories for the Cody Olympics yet? Because now I'm thinking maybe you do the bowling ball shot put.
You know what?
Oh, wow.
I am going to write that down.
He's going to write it down. Look at him, working hard.
That's going to be the second best event that we've ever had. Bowling ball shot put.
While we're at it then, and this is what he's dying for, it's the only reason he's here, we're not likely to get his attention the rest of the show. The Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody is featuring an Olympics between him and his son, and I assume the best event is there. The very best event in the history of father-son Olympics, I'm assuming we can find on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody.
For sure. The last one we did was, and this is a first for the medium. This is a first in the history of podcasts. We went towing with a 57-year-old die. Okay, we
What
were
is
barefoot.
towing?
We grabbed a small die. I call it dice. It's one dice. I still call it a dice. Officially, it's a die. We grasp in our bare foot, in our toe, the great toe.
With your talon, with your rotten talons that Stugotz has clipped the toenail, the great toenail twice off of, your giant talon, you're rolling die with your feet?
We're not rolling it. We're throwing it. We're whipping our foot and propelling the die down the street on my block. We have video of it to prove we did it. I'm not going to say who won. You got to listen to our podcast. But towing with a 57-year-old die, a family heirloom. If I ever get this Greg Cody Hall of Fame off the ground, you know that die is going to be in a lucite square case like they have for, gold medals and, Hall of Fame baseballs and such.
I'm surprised the die didn't get stuck under your big toe, your big talon.
Well, and here's the thing. It's one of those small die. It's not the big die.
How do you feel about the die that are like 6-sided or 8-sided that they have now?
Oh, yeah, we don't know.
I
we
guess
don't.
the 9-sided one. Yeah.
No. That's, to me, that's an aberration.
Like categories?
Yeah, it was a hexagon or something.
Yeah.
We like the classic die.
Yeah.
The square die.
1 through 6.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how far you can whip the leg and throw the die. The key is you don't want to whip the leg too hard that the die falls out of your toe before expelling.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please explain to me whether there is anything about these 1957 die that if I were holding them in my hand, I wouldn't say that they're 2023 die? Like you say they're a family heirloom, you're throwing them down the street. Do they look,
They have to be yellow.
Do they look different from 1957?
That's an excellent question. And there's a photograph of me holding the die, and it is way yellow. Keep in mind, this die was white when I got the game delivered to me in 1968, the spring of 1968. And 56 or whatever years later, it's yellow, like the color of unbrushed teeth.
Yeah, like the color of unbrushed teeth.
Right.
Good way to paint a picture.
Yeah, look at the photo. I put the photo on Twitter. Somebody get that.
Look at that. I love the way he does his job. He just
Somebody get that.
I'll get it.
Look, just understand, okay? Understand that when Greg Cody walked in today, there are so many things to talk about, and I asked him what it is that he wanted to talk about, and all he said was me.
Yeah.
Just me, Maximum. I want to talk about my podcast. I want to talk about a book that I'm publishing. They look orange. They don't look like the color of unbrushed teeth.
Okay.
They look like orange dye. And basically what you're describing is a game of rotten foot throws rotten dye. Which is older? Which is older and more rotten? Greg Cody's dice from 1957 or Greg Cody's feet from 1957?
No, 1967. It's a 57-year-old die. That die used to be white, bone white, and now it's yellow, or as you call it, orange.
Rotten.
If this is a quote-unquote family heirloom, shouldn't you treat this with a little bit more respect?
You know, we considered that, Roy.
Consider
That's
that. Okay.
another beautiful question.
We're in his wheelhouse. He wanted so badly to come in here and just talk about himself today, to be the center of the Olympics. He misses it. He was the center of the Stanley Cup final. He misses not being at the center of things.
Well, I have a question for you, Greg, in regards to the Olympics and what we were talking about, sleeping bags. Why don't you guys have a sleeping bag competition where you guys maybe take a nap between you and Christopher?
Yeah.
Also, a follow-up question. How do you feel about the advancements in sleeping bags? I don't know if you've seen them, but they have sleeping bags now that'll go all the way around your head.
Yeah.
You can almost wear like a hoodie. Like, how do you feel about those?
Yeah, the nickname for that is the suffocator. I'm not a fan of sleeping bags. I'm not a fan
At
of
all?
tents. No. No. If I'm forced to sleep outdoor, it's going to be au naturel. And I don't mean nude. I mean, I'm going to sleep on the ground. I'm not going to lay on a mat. I just don't believe in that.
You're not going to use a tent? I mean,
maybe I'm claustrophobic.
What if it's raining?
You know what? Maybe I'm claustrophobic because I just don't like the idea of being zipped up in a sleeping bag. What if the zipper breaks? Then all of a sudden you're, squirming around in a sleeping bag. You can't get out. They're thick enough where you really can't rip through them. So you're in a real pickle there.
I've never understood that expression.
What's that?
Is the pickle the game of pickle? Is it if you're in a real pickle, is where it is that you're stuck in a game, the game of pickle, where someone throws a baseball, two people are throwing a baseball, the game of pickle. You're trying not to get tagged, and that's the game. Where does that expression come from? Getting in a real pickle.
I don't know.
Nobody knows?
Well, I mean, in this situation, if he's trapped inside a sleeping bag, it would be as traumatic as being trapped inside a pickle, I would think.
It would be.
Yeah.
I just can't. And the idea of a sleeping bag that goes over your head, what's the point of that?
Should we
you
just
can't
call
see
it
a bear rumbling toward you like Ron McGill with a buffalo marauding right through his tent. I don't want to do that. I'm in a sleeping bag. You can't even see the buffalo.
The origin is apparently from William Shakespeare's The Tempest, but that's just the first result, and we got an AI-generated dude holding a javelin the last time we did that, so let me keep digging.
I wish that Stugotz had said that. I wish Stugotz had said that off the top of his head.
Greg, your old dice is disgusting. It's like yellow. It looks like it's covered in bacteria and E. coli, and it made me think of Dan's question earlier about the Seine, which is apparently also riddled with E. coli. And actually, a Belgian triathlete had to pull out of the Olympics, and her team is claiming that she's been hospitalized with E. coli after swimming in the Seine.
Wow.
And so even after this like $1 billion cleanup effort and like constant testing, apparently there's still some nasty in that water, and athletes are swimming in it every day.
It's up for debate. It's either the Tempest, or even though the internet acknowledges it's unlikely, it came from a Dutch saying in which someone was sitting in pickle brine.
Okay.
Yep.
People back in the day really had it so much easier. They could be the first one to say anything, do anything, and then we just assume that they're like so profound. Like, oh, Billy Shakespeare, look at all these things that he wrote. It's like, yeah, well, he's the first one to string together 6 words because no one had the opportunity to.
But they also didn't have antibiotics, so.
Yeah, there's that, right? Dentistry was a bitch back then.
Pickle brine, by the way, used to be a very popular drink. My dad used to drink pickle brine like water.
That is appalling.
No,
Wild Bill did?
No, he
didn't.
Wild
8
Bill?
glasses a day. I mean,
He would save the jar, and when the pickles were done, he would have a glass jar this size full of pickle juice.
That's smart.
And he would drink it like water. I had plenty of sips of pickle juice. It's great.
You have to pay nowadays to get pickle juice, pickle-flavored juice? Has to be astronomical.
Yeah.
Wild Bill knew.
I bet it would.
Yeah.
Very salty, a little vinegary, very flavorful. You can use it as a marinade for a lot of stuff. Anyway, that's a tangent.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
The first one.
Let me explain to you one of the joys of doing this. Okay, this is wonderful, and rare do I get to see a glimpse of my friend quite this clearly after all of these years as he descends into fossilized age. Him talking about pickle brine, he just nostalgically wandered off toward that time and forgot he was on a radio show, just thinking to himself old thoughts about his dad. And he forgot he was with us.
He got lost in the memories.
Look, we talked about him so much. His podcast, I told you we'd lose him. We talked about his podcast. We got to talk about his dumbass die. We got to talk about his talon feet. We got to talk about things he cares about. We got to talk about me maximum. Yeah. And then the moment that he started thinking about drinking pickle brine, which is appalling, put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show, is the thought of drinking pickle brine like it's water appalling to you?
My dad also drank clam juice like it was going out of style.
I just found, Greg, online you can buy classic kosher dill juice. One package is 19.5 ounces. A 3-pack costs $46.
It's pricey. You get what you pay for. It's good stuff. Makes me want to go home and drink from a pickle jar, to be honest with you.
Really?
We can make that happen before you leave today.
Let's
That'd
do
be
that.
a punishment.
I'm going to videotape myself. By the way, this picture of me holding a yellow dye, it looks to me like I'm about to swallow it. It looks edible. It's the color of a Cheez-It. And to Roy's point, I never should have used it. I disrespected the dye.
Wow, that's the first time I've ever heard you utter regret on our show.
Yeah. I should not have used that. I could have picked any dye, although I don't think I have another dye in the house.
Odd topic to show regrets, I mean.
But why need to buy another dye? You have one good dye. Why buy another one? Waste of money.
It's a Hall of Famer.
Use that money to buy some pickles.
Yeah.
You could have gone to the Dollar Tree and got some dice.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know where to buy a dice.
Dollar Tree.
Where do you buy dice?
On the internet?
Well, internet.
No, it's a good question. I mean, if you're in your car driving around and you need dice, where do you go?
Right.
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
It is.
No, I mean,
Hobby Lobby?
The dollar
I mean,
store, I'm sure, has dice.
I don't know. That's one of those things that you're like, what is my solution? I need dice. I need them fast. What
Right.
do I
A
go
toy
to?
store?
Yeah, but what do you do? Do you go to like buy Yahtzee and take the dice out of the
Right.
Yahtzee game? What do you do?
They definitely sell them at the store, like with the playing cards. I'd have to guess.
Isolated dice?
Roy,
like a six-pack?
Greg, was the game whoever throws it the farthest wins, or do you have to roll the highest with your feet?
No, you
It's
launch,
a totally different sport.
You launch the die with your foot, and you can, there's a strategy. You can hit it like a 2-iron and go for the roll.
But it doesn't matter what you roll? Maybe it should be weighted like what you roll versus distance.
No, it has nothing to do with landing on 1 or 6.
Then why does it have to be a dice?
It doesn't. I wanted something that was the size that would challenge
It's his
the
Olympics.
dexterity
Yeah.
of the toe.
Yeah.
I'm known for toe dexterity. Not everyone is. But, the roll counts. If it goes off the road into the grass, it's going to stop right away. So the key is to keep it straight. And I will tell you that the winning distance was...
Don't give it away. The Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody, where you can find all of your results.
Right. I'm not going to say who won. I will say the winning distance was 29 yards.
Wow.
Or 87 feet.
So much higher than Mondo jumped.
You could use the rock.
A rock?
No,
Yeah.
you can't.
Well, if it's the right size. It has to be. We want it big enough where the toe small enough where the toe can pick it up. Mm-hmm. Big enough, you don't want to have it too big or too small. You can't pick up no matter how much toe dexterity you have, right. You can't pick up a kernel of popcorn. You can't pick up a little corn kernel. Likewise, a golf ball would be very challenging. I think I could pick up a golf ball with my toe, but, I have more toe dexterity than most people.
Greg, I have great news for you. I'm on the Dollar Tree website, and you can buy dye at the Dollar Tree. You can buy a 10-pack for $1.25. There's also, and this might interest you for next year's Cody Olympics, there's also a set of do-it-yourself wood dye. So these are not numbered. They just are 3 different dye. They're squared with the rounded edges, and maybe you want to toss that in there. You could throw a Greg Cody Show logo on it. You could do something not necessarily numerical.
That's a great idea, Billy. Yeah. I'm going to make a mental note of that.
All right, you're taking a lot of notes.
I'm not going to write that one down.
You got a laptop in front of you.
You are writing a great deal down. And
but what's rare is the tiny die. Okay? When everybody thinks of dice, they think of the size everyone's imagining,
standard
which is
size.
Like that.
Yeah.
The tiny die is the key. I bet you can't buy tiny dice online.
I bet you can.
The question that I wanted to ask, based on what you guys are saying, is degree of difficulty on modernizing your shopping habits when you're as old as Greg Cody. Some of you in this room are declaring that it is hard to leave your home and know where to go if you needed to immediately get dye. Jessica said you just find it in the playing card section. What else is in this section? What other toys are things that are that you need to get someplace? Where do you go to get it? Because when Roy says dollar store, you're going to get it, but you better not hope for anything good because nothing costs $1 anymore.
That's a good point.
You better not hope that you want dye that will last for 2 or 3 weeks.
They have some good stuff in there, I got to tell you.
They do. Agreed. I've been there recently to get some tattoos for a Prince Fielder nude shoot that I owe you guys. I went in there to get an assortment of...
The Dollar Tree had the Prince Fielder tattoos?
Yes, they did.
What?
Yes, they did. They had what I needed.
No
what
way.
are the odds? That's right.
You walked into a dollar store?
I did walk into a dollar store.
That's a sight.
And
Did you bring Frankie?
Yeah, I had security with me. That's right. I pulled up in a limo. I was wearing a top
change of
hat.
100?
Oh, yeah, I looked at them with my monocle. Yeah.
Did you buy the store?
Yeah, I asked them how much for everything. I did.
Surely this store can't cost $1.
This is a bit of a stunner. I am guessing that I have been in a dollar store more recently than any of you.
Does Five Below count?
Don't get me started on them.
I mean, I now want to get you started on it. What?
There's not an object in there below $5 anymore. They have a whole VIP section with a velvet rope back there that's 10 below. That's not the spirit of this store, friends. 5 below. You can't find anything for $1, $2. Everything's $5 now. The below is absent and 5 below. Don't get me started.
I mean, that's kind of where we are with
potential
everything
client. Don't get me started.
in America.
What is less than $1?
There's not. You can't get anything good for less than $1 anymore.
Can you buy a pack of gum for less than $1?
Limes. One single lime.
No, you can't get
One single lemon.
Can you get a single lime?
Maybe a potato.
What can you get
Depending
for less
on
than
weight.
$1?
Well, food, yeah. I get that. Like the other day I'm in Publix, I'm buying fresh ginger. Who uses ginger, right? And if you do use it,
I do.
You're
use it.
shaving off a little bit. So basically, I buy the small. I snapped it in half. I buy a knuckle of ginger that was smaller than a golf ball. It ends up costing 19 cents or something because it's like a pound. And when you buy a small piece, it's like buying. Technically, you can buy one grape in a store, but who would do that? You know.
Just chuck it in your mouth and eat it and move on.
Yeah,
right?
I saw somebody doing that the other day.
Right.
I saw a woman stealing, right in front of me, stealing from the store. And this is where I feel like, ratting her out to the manager or something, because on principle, that I hate that when people eat. She's eating grapes right out of the bag she just bought, and they weigh it. You pay by the weight. So she's stealing money with every grape. and she's munching it, just walking down carefree.
You are
just
so wrong.
Grapes.
Why are you snapping ginger in half?
In the store. You did it in the store?
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
You take as much ginger as you need.
No, but you're not supposed to snap the ginger, and then your dirty hands that have been throwing dice with your feet.
I didn't snap it with my feet.
What are you doing, snap? You got your dirty hands on somebody else's ginger. Somebody else's.
You know, first of all, okay, I'm touching the outside of the ginger. You don't eat the outside of the ginger. You cut the outside off and then grate.
I've never heard of somebody snapping ginger in half because they don't want to pay the 49 cents for the...
It's common. Who do we know that works in produce at a supermarket? Call them, ask them.
You think it's common? Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is it common to snap your ginger in half at the grocery store?
Yes.
Can we get someone in a produce department? I'm begging you. Can we just find anybody?
A guest?
Yes.
Just ask etiquette questions?
Yes.
It's perfectly normal because, like I say, I'm not touching what you eat.
This is a new and improved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
A giddy Stugotz just walked into the room saying, I got a top 5 list for you on athletes who connote dice. Greg Cody has, if you're just joining us, ruined a family heirloom in order to get you to support the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody, his wildly popular podcast.
With.
Fine.
With.
Fine.
Well, you guys missed 2 of them before. We should be up to $20 in fines if I was willing to respect you. But I will always call it the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody.
Why?
And it is the only place that I will not budge.
Huh.
Why is that?
Weird.
Disrespectful.
I will not pay any more of the fines that come with this misrepresentation of you insisting that I promote your podcast and then you immediately check out on the remainder of the show as soon as that has been done.
Liar.
You only use this show as a vehicle to promote your things. You have a book coming out now. You are finally doing Back in My Days, but you're doing fresh Back in My Days that we're not even getting here. Mango Publishing is getting them here. That book is now available for pre-order. That book is finished. So now Greg Cody... What's happened around here, you may have noticed, this is a very big show. It has had a lot of success nationally and internationally and is growing because we've got some big announcements coming later this month. And what has happened around here is that Mango Publishing, a local publisher, has realized there is a publishing oil well around this show that everyone has noticed. So Ron McGill has written a book and Greg Cody has written 2 books while I fought and wrestled with Stugotz's editor this weekend because Stugotz's book that we're telling him is worth a lot of money and is a good idea, he has not done enough work on, and he has not been prepared enough in the selling of this book. Greg Cody has somehow, Stugotz, he's gonna have 2 books out before you have your book out that's being written for you.
This is not a competition with me and Greg Cody. We are friends. We root for each other. Greg wrote a chapter in my book. I am not rooting against Greg Cody. I only want good things for the Cody family.
And likewise.
Yes.
But Greg Cody, who is being paid by this show to do Back in My Day, is only doing them as a side hustle. As part of a project. He's done 3 fresh Back in My Days for his book so that you buy it.
Correct.
How do people buy it? Pre-order? They go to their local dice store, the dollar store?
Yeah, you can just, Google Amazon, Greg Cody Books. It comes right up. It's doing very well based on pre-sales. It's Amazon's #1 ranked new release in a category called History Humor.
Wow.
Now, my philosophy is that Amazon has so many minuscule categories that it allows them to promote a book as being #1 new release in history and humor. It's also top 10 in humor essays. So
nice.
I think it's going to be pretty well received.
It's a handsome-looking book. I'm seeing it here. You can also pre-order it at Target. It says it comes out September 24th. Is that so?
Yes, that is so.
Look at you.
Yeah. 2 books in the time, Stugotz. Is your book going to come out, Stugotz?
Yeah, it's coming out late November. I mean, I wrote a book. Have you?
I did. Marlon's Top of the First in 1993.
Dan, you're on the cover of this book. Were you aware of that?
Of which book?
Of Back in My Day. Witty satire debunking the hype of New and Improved by Greg Cody. Here you are, right at the top. You have a big quote on it.
He's on the cover of my book as well. I mean, forward by Dan Le Batard. How about that?
Did you write this quote, or did Greg just attribute a quote to you?
No, Dan was kind enough to write the forward. very long forward. About a third of the book is Dan's forward, but we appreciated every word of it.
Can you possibly tell us the topics of the new Back in My Days? Not necessarily tell us, but maybe kind of wet our whistle with what it is that you've written these about?
I can't remember what they are, to be honest with you.
I think that I should reward the audience. There should be some sort of prize where we bribe Greg Cody based on how high they get him on one of these lists. He has to read one of the fresh ones from his book if our listeners buy a certain number of books from him.
I think one of the three new ones is space travel. If I remember correctly.
That's one of those things that's gotten worse, right?
What, space travel?
Yeah.
Well, you have to buy the book to find out.
That a boy.
That is so distinctly male, what Greg Cody just did. He was palpably moved by my forward in a way that he expressed to me. He's a bit repressed with how it is he expresses his emotion. He was choked up in expressing to me how he felt about the forward, and all he does is describe it as publicly long.
Mm-hmm. Right. It was I said it was generous. You were very generous in what you wrote about me and about the book, mostly about me, which is what I really liked about it. But it was long.
A bit wordy, huh?
Criminy, yeah.
Same with mine.
Yeah.
I wasn't choked up. I wanted to choke Dan.
I don't think you read it. I've got no proof that you
couldn't get through it.
I don't think you read it. That was, Billy, that's what actually I'm pretty sure that's what happened. We'll get back to that in a second. Pablo Torre joins us.
I love you, though.
And Pablo Torre is, I'm telling you, this podcast is unlike anything in the market. It's got a lot of good word of mouth because he is pouring himself unreasonably into every episode that goes out. It is a rare space in this space where it's not just people talking, but it's clearly got a lot of effort and work behind it. Pablo Torre finds out has gotten a lot of good reviews everywhere. So I wanted to bring Pablo in to talk about some of the news of the day. So Tim Walz is now Kamala's vice presidential candidate. Your thoughts there? Is that who you were rooting for? Were you rooting for the astronaut?
I was rooting for whoever was going to win the election, but this is the most fun guy to root for. And so the choice was Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania. The electoral map, Nate Silver, they're all saying, go with that guy. You just want to win the big blue states. And so I was like, okay, Josh Shapiro, cool. But Tim Walz, Dan, if you have been falling asleep, sort of like paying attention to the VP race, he's the guy who has kicked off all of the new messaging, which I find to be profoundly effective, about how the other side of this entire political argument now is just full of freaks. And so he uses the term weird. They're weird. And so Tim Walz is the guy who is most telling America, you get to make a choice here. It could be Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and this Suicide Squad style band of weirdos who are trying to do all sorts of things, which we don't need to even belabor right now. Or you can pick the dude who is the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, who is a high school football coach who looks like the guy you run into at the grocery store. And so it's just this remarkable leaning into, hey, this is what America kind of could still be, a normal average dad who may or may not be, grilling on the weekends, potentially barefoot, like Greg Cody.
Who uses those feet to roll dice on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody and what he describes as the greatest of the family Olympic
towing,
events.
Dan.
Yes, towing, excuse me.
Towing?
To Pablo's point, I did see Tim Walz in a grocery store, and he was breaking apart ginger. So if the vice president of the United States can do that, that seals it.
How do
for
you
me.
feel, Pablo, when I tell you that Greg Cody walks into a store and instead of just taking a piece of ginger there that would cost 69 cents, he breaks it in half so that he can have his 19-cent version?
I have Greg as a guy who gets his hands on all sorts of produce because there are deals to be found there. Greg, am I right? That
Yes.
you are handsy. You are almost I won't say cancelably handsy with the produce, but I think you get the drift. The drift of what I'm trying to say here.
And the best example of that is when the lemons are not sold by the pound, but it says 2 for $1, for example. You got to find the lemon that's almost the size of your fist. You want to get your money's worth.
Fisting lemons. How are you doing avocados? How are you doing those?
I used to have an avocado tree, and it dropped so many avocados I had to uproot it. But avocados I don't buy much of. Other than guacamole, I have no use for avocados. But I'm not handsy. No, I respect produce. I look with my eyes. I'm scouting out the big lemon. Generally speaking, once I pick up a lemon, I buy it. Now, if I turn it around and it's got a defect on the other side, I gently put it back. What am I going to do? But no, the ginger, as I was explaining to Dan, he didn't know. He thought you popped a piece of ginger in your mouth like it was popcorn. You don't eat the outside of ginger.
No, I don't.
That's what he said.
I said
word
that
for word.
That's not what I said. I said that I use ginger, and I'm offended, as was Roy, by what you did with that ginger. But now we've moved on to other subject matter. So you got rid of and killed your avocado tree for overproducing for you.
Yeah. Well, what happened? Avocado trees are seasonal, and when it was bearing fruit, it would drop so many that squirrels love avocado. So it drops on the ground.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, and I couldn't pick it up fast enough. Like, I just want to take, how much does it take to make guacamole? I want to take 3 or 4 avocados in my house, let them ripen, make my avocado. Nobody makes avocado like me. It's really, really good, and I don't often brag about stuff like that.
You don't make avocado. The tree
does.
But
the squirrels are mauling my avocados. And once you can't use an avocado, it rots in the ground. It becomes you can't mow over it because the pit is big and hard. So it just became a real nightmare. Yeah, became a nightmare.
Greg Cody, you are 0-2 in cooking competitions around here. You say no one can make a guacamole like you. Does anyone want to challenge him? Valerie makes, I'm sure, a better guacamole than you. Does anyone here else make guacamole? Or is Greg Cody going to stand untested here?
I would take that challenge.
When he says, I make a better... You're 0-2 in your cooking challenges.
I know Roy beat me in turkey, and a well-earned victory by Roy. His citrus turkey was fantastic. What was the other competition?
You lost to me in popcorn.
Oh, yeah, and that was a little bit of a dicey verdict.
You lost unanimously.
Dicey.
No one voted for you.
I mean,
no one voted for you.
You're the Jordan Childs of, one minute you're in 5th place, the next minute somehow you're winning a ribbon.
Ridiculous.
I thought my popcorn was better.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to just overturn the vote that was unanimous? What are you, Trump?
Well, your popcorn, if I'm being honest, it was so over-seasoned with tajin that it was almost inedible.
Yeah. I've never heard tajin uttered like a slur before. Until just
Hard J.
Almost inedible.
Again, beat you 4-0.
The judges were on the take. You're the guy going in a dollar store to save money so that you can flash a little money to the judges over here. We don't know what's going on.
I have a question for Greg, because I'm imagining how Tim Walz is going to instruct America about how he is the most normal man in politics. But Greg Cody's Guide to Grocery Store Etiquette, what else is on the list of stuff that Greg does that a veteran dad who's been around the block a couple times always does if he knows what he's doing?
Wow. I like the idea that you had Tim Walz grilling in bare feet, because I do that. I challenge myself to be safe in areas that don't seem safe. When I'm lighting propane tank, for example, I have no problem using bare feet for that. And Tim, the idea that the vice president also grills in bare feet makes me like the guy.
Well, I don't know if was that literal, or were you just being metaphorical there, Pablo? Is that a literal thing? Does he grill in bare feet? Do you know this?
I believe that I was being reckless and speculating that potential Vice President Tim Walz has prehensile toes that he is using to grill and operate.
Put it on the poll,
tanks.
please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you grill in bare feet? Because I don't think that's uniquely or distinctly American. I think it's dumb and dangerous and dirty. When you said Nate Silver earlier, are we trusting this information? Because I have found hard to trust anything that resembles polling information, and Nate Silver was simply the authority in these matters, and then he wasn't.
Yeah, I don't have anybody better than him. Of course, all of this is a complicated thing when you have to say probability is what we're going for here. So Nate Silver has been wrong, but the probabilities in which he estimated his wrongness to be were actually more impressive than other people who were wrong. And so this is like the last thing Stugotz wants to hear, is people making excuses about how I'm wrong, but my math says that I'm more right than you. So I understand why he's a deeply unsympathetic character. I get all of that. But I believe, Dan, I just don't know what else to turn to other than the math of polling, and Nate Silver's the best at it. So, yeah, I go by him.
What kind of offense did he run in high school? I mean, those are the questions we should be asking. Tells a lot about a man. Yeah.
This is an episode for Pablo Torre Finds Out. I am not kidding. This has already been decided this morning.
Wow.
I like that we're doing the whole, like, hey, those guys are weird thing. But also, from what I've read, Tim Walz has had a really good track record in Minnesota for things like a child tax credit, and he's free lunches, things like that. He's a former teacher, so he has a lot of like family-geared policy. So is that also something that you think adds a boost to the Harris campaign, that they're able to attach themselves to some of these policies?
I think so. I mean, thank you, Jess, for reminding us that there's substance here somewhere. Yes. I just think when it comes to how he's going to debate J.D. Vance, I don't think they're going to lean on that so much as they're going to lean on, hey, look at me, look at him, look at me again. Which one of us potentially not wearing eyeliner and also having a history of flip-flopping and calling my preferred presidential nominee Adolf Hitler? Which one of us do you trust? I think they're going to simplify it so far down to the lowest common denominator in ways that make me hopeful, because I've tried substance before, Jess, and it doesn't really work so well. I think they're just going to go for the casting call, and I kind of get it.
Pablo Torre Finds Out, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. You've now mentioned Hitler a couple of times in your last few appearances. You are obsessed these days.
Okay.
What?
Wouldn't say that, although today's episode does involve Hitler. And here's a spoiler alert. It also involved, this is not the only tree-based conversation you'll hear on the Dan Le Batard and Friends Network today. Greg Cody's avocado trees, the trees that Adolf Hitler gave to gold medalists in the 1936 Berlin Games, the Nazi Olympics, led us to a story about Jesse Owens taking those trees home and planting them. Unlike Greg Cody, he saved those trees. And it's a story about why and how and what it says about America. And that is a tease that I believe successfully threads the needle of trying to sell you about listening to more Adolf Hitler.
I think that tease makes sure that no one here will listen to that. I'm pretty sure.
Trees?
I'm pretty sure you
guys are anti-trees.
I'm pretty sure you lost everyone in this room with all of that. You think you nailed the dismount, and Jessica is saying she'll listen.
Thank you, Jess. Substance.
I'll listen. Although, Dan, you should be careful when you say someone is obsessed with Adolf Hitler. That's especially
dangerous.
Someone that you employ.
Yeah, that's
you know what you're doing, right?
Well, I thought I knew what I was doing. I was hoping that it
journalistically obsessed. Journalistically obsessed, because I'm a journalist. Hard J.
That is
Big J.
That is correct.
Journalist.
Before you get out of here, I've got some updates for you from some of the reporting that our experts have been doing on the Olympics. Billy has been covering trampoline. Greg Cody has been covering equestrian. So go ahead and, Greg, give us whatever you've got here on equestrian. We've given out assignments to everyone. I've got breakdancing. I think that, Roy, what did you have?
Boxing and field hockey.
Do you have any reports, any updates?
Not yet. I will have it on Friday.
Okay. Jessica, what do you have? Did you wrestle beach volleyball?
Beach volleyball. I believe I wrestled it away from Chris. Unfortunately, one of our women's beach volleyball teams lost yesterday, but there is more today.
Greg Cody, you are our equestrian correspondent. What do you have for us?
I don't love equestrian just because I own a racehorse, okay? I love equestrian because it's the sport of old people. The competitors are older on average than any other sport at the Paris Olympics. The average age of the U.S. equestrian team, 44 and a half. Even the horses are old. We think of horses as 3 or 4-year-olds that we actually see in big races. These equestrian horses tend to be 14, 15, 16 years old. Equestrian in France wrapped up just this morning in Versailles, with Germany taking 4 of 6 gold medals and Great Britain the other 2. U.S. rider Laura Kraut aboard her horse Valentinu had a chance this morning to win the first gold medal in Team USA equestrian since 2008, but fell short in the individual jumping final. However, Kraut from Palm Beach, along with teammates Carl Cook and McLean Ward, took silver earlier in Paris in team jumping. Kraut, at age 58, became the oldest U.S. Olympic medalist in 72 years. The previous oldest was Everard Ducky Ent, who was 59 in Helsinki in 1952 when he won gold in the 100-meter dash. I'm just kidding. It was in sailing. Not reporting from Paris, I'm Greg Cody.
All right, it felt a bit book reporty, but I hope that Billy, well, I mean, he's written something.
I learned a lot.
He's written something that's not for his book. He wrote something fresh for us.
Thank you.
Billy, do you have a trampoline update for
Women's
us?
trampoline, yes. I thought I had visuals prepared, but we can go here. We don't need to get to the visuals. So, Dan, Olympic trampolining commenced and ended the other day. It is one of the most vicious Olympic sports because just like that, 4 years of training can go
Hold on
away.
a second. I'm sorry. I think Patty Mills just did something.
Yeah, Serbia battled all the way back from down 20 to go up 2 with 9.5 seconds left. They go to Patty Mills to tie this ball game. Patty Mills rattles it in. It's a tie ball game. 1.4 seconds left. A desperate heave from Serbia goes wide. We are headed to overtime in the men's basketball quarterfinal.
We're allowed to do Olympics play-by-play like that?
That was after the fact. This actually happened 4 minutes earlier.
Already in OT. Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that. Anyways, Olympic trampoline. The event takes place in one day, Dan, and the field starts at 16 and then is trimmed down to 8, all in one day. So you have the 16 compete, then you get the 8. Now, how do they trim them down? Great question. This is the way that it goes. Each athlete has 2 potential opportunities if they don't like their score on the first one and think they can improve the second one, and then they take the best of the 2 scores as their final score. So, in Olympic trampolining, you have 10 jumps. So you jump and then you have 10 different tricks that you can do. You're then judged based on those tricks. Okay? Now, how did qualifying go? Great question. This is how qualifying finished. We're not going to do all of qualifying because 16 people is too many.
For not
so I'm just going to give you who
Yes.
advanced from qualifying.
Yes, well, you're much more prepared than Greg Cody was for this.
Greg had a lot of stuff. He had a lot of info there.
Yeah, but you're
not a competition, man.
Eberhard Ducky Kent. Was that a name Greg said at one point?
Yeah, Ent. E-N-D-T. E-N-D-T. Ducky Ent.
Sounds fake.
Oh.
Not to him, it wasn't.
I was remiss in not pointing out to you, Pablo. I wanted to throw to you the idea that Greg Cody and Stugotz think they should be able to decide who's American in the Olympics.
That was Greg Cody who said that. I was just explaining what it is he said.
Misrepresentation, falsehoods. Greg thinks everyone should compete for America.
Yeah, well, his takes on tajin now all add up. But Billy, proceed. Sorry.
Sorry, Billy.
All right, so in qualifying, first place went to Violeta Bardzelowskaya, and she is one of the 35 athletes that is competing from Belarus and from Russia who are not allowed to compete under their own country. So she is competing under AIN, and she finished first place in qualifying with a score of 56.340. And second
it looks
place,
fun. Trampoline looks fun and dangerous and amazing.
Speaking of popcorn, yeah.
I'm just going to tell you how they did in the final round, because if I go through all the names in the qualifying and I give you the scores, you're going to get tired of this.
Why would you do that? Yeah,
well, because I need you guys. I'm trying to paint a picture here. Did you know there's 2 trampolines and they can choose which apparatus to jump on? So they have their warm-ups and they can choose which of the 2 trampolines they want to compete on.
Wow.
Now, from my observation, it seemed like they all competed on the exact same trampoline. So I don't know why they needed a second trampoline. But there was
like
2
a baseball
trampolines.
glove. They want it worn in. They want the worn-in trampoline.
I suppose. I was wondering maybe if the springs are tighter on one trampoline than the other, you get more bounce. But I think it's just a preference thing. Probably I should have the answers for you.
Shouldn't you know this?
Yeah, I'm the one reporting
you're the
on
expert.
it. But,
I would think that would be good information to have.
Anyway, so in second place in qualifying with a score of 56.20, we had Yu Yicheng. She got a score of 56.270. In third place, we had Zhu Zhujuing from China with a score of 55.950. In fourth place, again competing for AIN, we had Anzela Bladlekva with a score of 55.640. Then in fifth place, we had what appeared to be the sentimental favorite, Brownie Page from Great Britain with a score of 54.970. Now, as you all know, as fans of trampolining, Brownie Page previously has a bronze and a silver medal, but she does not have the gold medal yet. So we're trying to see if she can get the old triple crown in medals, as they call it in trampolining. In 6th place, we had Mori Hikaru from Japan with a score of 54.740. Well, I'm just giving you a recap of the qualifying.
This is the short version.
Yeah, this is a short. I didn't want to give you the 16.
Pablo,
look, there you go. There you go. Look, right
Pablo,
there.
Thank you for being on with us.
Pablo may be interested
We appreciate
in this.
it.
Pablo wants to find out who won trampolining.
Yes,
Triple crown.
Pablo, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it.
Belarus, huh?
I really regret.
In 7th place, Maddie Davidson from New Zealand. Now, remember, Pablo, if you're still here, remember, their scores
Can you just fade
in
yourself
qualifying,
out? Do me a favor.
Their scores in qualifying don't carry over to the final. It gets
fade
wiped
yourself
clean,
out.
so they just
Fade
make it into the
as you
championship.
keep talking.
In
Just
8th
fade
place,
yourself.
we
Do
had
your
job.
Sofiane Method from Canada with a score of 56.6.
As football approaches here, Stugotz, and as everything runs through Kansas City, because that was the most diminished Kansas City offense that we have seen during this run, the least trusted offense, and that's at least in part because once they paid Mahomes, they couldn't pay Tyreek Hill anymore, and so the option becomes ground Travis Kelce into total dust. And win the championship several years and have what is the team everyone must go through during a time where we're obsessed with systems, and the poster child for system now, I don't even think it's McVay. I think it's Kyle Shanahan, even though it hasn't had the ultimate success, at least in part because it keeps running into Mahomes. They've had value at quarterback. It's the greatest advantage you can have. Have a great quarterback cheap, and you can have a bunch of talent. Kansas City already took advantage of it, and now San Francisco tries to, but they can't afford Aiyuk. You can't pay everyone. You can't have Trent Williams and George Kittle and Aiyuk and Samuel and a quarterback at $900,000 a year. The only reason you can have those guys, everything like that, is because you've had the quarterback cheap for a couple of years. And now Aiyuk is available, and I have a hard time with the new can you please, Greg, turn off your phone? That's $10 in fines for you. You don't know how to silence your phone, and you don't know how to turn it off.
You owe 20, he owes 10, you still owe 10.
I'm not paying that.
Silent.
I'm not
Let's
paying.
just round it up to 50.
His 10.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn it off.
He's going to grab your phone and throw it. That's what he's going to do. Yep.
Can you throw it with your toe?
Oh, wow.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? Greg, do you have Venmo? No, of course you don't have Venmo.
No.
I was going to say you should Venmo the money with your toe. Never mind.
Do you know what Venmo is? I mean,
yeah, I mean, Zelle, Venmo.
I love Venmo. By the way, Jessica Stephen, American, finished 11th with a score of 53.170, so she did not advance to the final. We'll get back to that
Dan,
later.
you sold their talent short. They got McCaffrey, Samuel, Bosa. They're overwhelming.
I forgot McCaffrey.
Yeah, overwhelming talent over there.
Funny.
yes. Yeah. He got more money this offseason,
Yes,
too.
and so
back in the league.
the point being, right, that you can't. We are really spending, not just we, but everybody is spending a lot of money counting the dollars in the salary cap age, and it's a bit of an overwhelming advantage San Francisco has had here for several years because they've got all of these players that you can name at all of the important positions. Like star power.
Yeah.
Well, they have the player at the most important position. He's good. He's good enough to get them to a Super Bowl in Brock Purdy. They still have him on that rookie contract for another 2 seasons after this year. But you're right. You can't pay everyone. I think the interesting part of this with Aiyuk is what does he do? Because he has a no-trade clause. He could say no to any of these deals that are being proposed and being reported about right now. He's going to make just over $14 million this year if he stays with San Francisco. I'd stay there as opposed to some of the rumored teams that are trying to get him right now.
All my life, we'll get to the rumored teams because it's Pittsburgh, it's Cleveland. I thought he was going to the Patriots. I can't remember the Patriots had a number one receiver who looked like that. That's not something – is it Randy Moss the last time that they had – a guy that is regarded as a number one, but the thing that I wanted to ask all of you about that team is if I have trouble all the time separating how good the quarterback is from the system and from his skill players, would I not also have some of these problems if I'm forgetting McCaffrey and Aiyuk is on a team where I think all of us would regard him as on offense the fifth most important player. I think Kittle might be. I think we'd all might regard 4 guys. I mean, he can be 6th if I'm putting Trent Williams in there.
He had 105 catches last year for 1,350 yards.
He's great, Stugotz. I'm not saying he's not great. What I'm asking,
game breaking, like he's certainly fit, but I think he's wide receiver 1 there. I mean, how soon do we forget that amazing catch, a lucky catch, but an amazing catch in the NFC Championship game? He really established himself as like their most consistent wide receiver.
He's wide receiver 1, but he's weapon number 5. Like in terms of everything that you're game planning for.
Right.
And because of I'm not sure when I look at the overwhelming amount of talent at that team. Stugotz, that offense doesn't look the same when Trent Williams isn't in the game.
No.
Like it looks totally different if you just take their left tackle out of the game. And I don't mean this as a diminishment of Brandon Aiyuk. I'm simply telling you that without looking at the metrics and unable to separate that web of talent, if I started drafting players from the 49ers and told you, you got to lose one of the 6, it's either him or Debo that you're choosing to get out of there, right?
It's him or Debo. Yeah, probably Debo for me.
I would probably move on from Debo just because Debo's age, the fact that he battles through some injuries. There's quite a bit of drop-off. If they're just losing Aiyuk for nothing, you're really asking a lot for Jennings to step up. I don't know necessarily about this move. Now, it seems as though what's happening publicly, which is, to me, just as fascinating as a decision that they have to make, is it kind of feels, while you felt like he was going to New England, the recent traction, certainly in parts of Pittsburgh, they were getting him. And if you see the recent reports, only the Browns and the Patriots have met the asking price. As Adam Schefter outlined, this is a little bit more complicated because not only do you have to meet the Niners' asking price, but also Brandon Ayuk's asking price too. The Patriots are willing to do that. Browns a little less so because they have a money situation. All of this kind of feels like a public posturing to squeeze more out of Pittsburgh, personally.
Your assessment, Dookie, as the king of God Bless Football, and you, this is obviously a number 1 wide receiver being available when the market has now told us that this league that is salary capped and everyone's fighting for value, everyone's telling you, number 1 wide receiver, oh, you got to pay for that. You got to pay for that more than you've been paying. Now there's one available.
Yeah. People have a difficulty, like, welcoming Brandon Aiyuk to that conversation.
It's weird.
Because they don't think he's the most valuable receiver, as you've outlined, and it's a right take, like weapon number 5. They still rank Samuel ahead of him. But if you look at the stats and also big-time moments, like he was their go-to guy. Aiyuk is ascending, while some of those other weapons, you could argue McCaffrey, best days maybe behind him if you look at the lifespan of running backs. Samuel, same thing. Kittle, same thing. Aiyuk's one of the weapons that they have that is actually ascending.
I don't think a lot of people think of Aiyuk as elite on that level. He's not Tyreek Hill. He's not Justin Jefferson. I think I might rather have CeeDee Lamb. You know, he's a great receiver on a team loaded with talent, but yet all that talent coupled with a very affordable quarterback hasn't won a Super Bowl.
He has 223 catches the last 2 years.
Okay, I would just caution you. I would just caution you on hasn't won a Super Bowl as the bottom line when they've been to 2 and been a play away on both of them. It doesn't mean that they're not good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Well, it doesn't mean he's not good enough. I mean, maybe Purdy.
Right. Saying they haven't won the Super Bowl, you cannot diminish a person's talent on that team because they've been a play 2 years in a row, or 2 years of the last 3 from winning the Super Bowl.
And if the 49ers and the fan base are very satisfied with coming close twice, bully for them. The thing about sports is that it tends to be a bottom line, and if you're paying all that money, if you have all those stars, you have to win a Super Bowl. And I think the Miami Dolphins, they also are spending a lot of money on offensive star power. They haven't won a playoff game.
Not nearly as close. Not nearly.
Okay.
So we have some huge breaking news from Pete Thamel of ESPN coming out of University Park, Florida. International recording artist Pitbull is purchasing the naming rights to FIU's football stadium. He's expected to pay the school $1.2 million per year for the next 5 years to change the name of FIU Stadium to Pitbull Stadium.
Oh, my
per
God.
FIU board
that is
documents.
Great. Well done.
Armando Stadium. Armando Stadium,
Pit.
ladies and
Pause
gentlemen.
up.
Yes, the Pit. No bull. No bull at the Pit. Yes.
Goes from the cage to the pit.
Yeah, it was the cage. Now what do we
Dale.
do? Yeah.
All right.
Incredible.
Oh my God. I think I just became an FIU fan.
Pause up, I think, around the world
Pause
right now.
up. Both
Yeah.
pause up.
If only
All
our
four
video
pause up.
worked well enough to get out there and talk to Armando about this big news today. Unfortunately, Billy cannot get out there. Let me just
Big week for Mondos.
let me correct Mike Ryan here. While you can argue that Christian McCaffrey is not in his prime anymore and on the descent based on age, he is coming off of his finest season ever. Yards per carry, average rushing 1,500
So is Aiyuk, by the
yards,
way.
14 touchdowns.
I totally understand that. That's not my take. You're changing my take. I'm saying if you look at the lifespan of running backs, it's easy to argue the best days of Christian McCaffrey are behind him. He can have a better year than he had last year, but he might only have like 2 more years. That's the point that I'm trying to make is if you look at career lifespans, Ayuk's the talent there on their offense that is probably still ascending.
I agree with that. Not sexy, but Kyle Shanahan has said that Aiyuk is the best blocking wide receiver he's ever seen.
Yeah, and Kittle is the best blocking tight end, and Trent Williams is the best blocking offensive tackle, and I do wonder how Aiyuk will look away from all of that.
That is the secret sauce of the Shanahan system, dating back to the
Downfield
OG,
blocking,
where
yes.
Zone blocking, downfield blocking, getting your wide receivers to buy in on that. That is how you get more out of your running game. So if you take an Aiyuk out of that system, and we'll see who replaces them and what kind of blocker they would be, you're actually diminishing all those other talents.
I'm just saying, if you're Aiyuk and you're going to make 14+ million, right? Wouldn't you rather stay with San Francisco? You have a chance at winning a Super Bowl. Your value is not going to go down in all likelihood and deal with it next year.
But I don't think that's an option that's available to him. I think his preference would be to stay in San Francisco if San Francisco showed him the money, but they can't. They're paying other guys. And they also have to have an eye towards what do we do with Brock Purdy, which is going to be a conversation that probably dominates the morning debate show news stream for a season and a half.
And I would just say to everyone listening beyond this, when you're talking about that level of excellence in a place as violent as football, the amount of confidence that Aiyuk must have, he does not believe that his success is something that doesn't travel to wherever it is that he goes.
Sure.
Like that is not like his confidence has to be so off the charts on I'm responsible for my excellence. It's not a product of system, it's not a product of coach, it's not a product of teammates. If I go to Pittsburgh, watch what I make Russell Wilson is the way someone like that would think.
Right. Well, Mike, they tagged him, so he has to stay in San Francisco if indeed they don't trade him. So they did tag him. It's just I'd stay in San Francisco because I don't think – and I understand what you guys are saying. He wants to take the best season he's ever had and parlay it into more money. This is the time to do it.
And also he doesn't like this conversation that probably feels disrespectful to him about what do you mean I'm not a number one receiver?
Right.
Like what are you talking about? I'm not a number one receiver.
I just had one of the iconic grabs in football history
to
get us into that Super Bowl. I can understand why he feels disrespected, but also I can also understand that he thinks that he can replicate that formula anywhere. Like Washington was in on this for a long time. Well, I get to rekindle chemistry that I had with my college quarterback and Jaden Daniels. That would have been an interesting spot. Reports are that they're out. I still think ultimately it's Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh has the money to make this happen. It's just the front office coming up to the table and actually meeting the asking price.
Him and Pickens, man.
Yeah. Cleveland's also interesting, like how they find the cap room and the draft capital to do this because they've been so behind the 8 ball with the Deshaun Watson contract.
Such a bad deal.
It's the worst ever.
It is the worst deal ever. Lucy Rodine joins us right now from the wooden basement area, wood on wood decor of her father, literally, like the bloggers are always accused, from their father's basement. Lucy is joining us now because there is a lot of gymnastics to talk about and a lot of college football to talk about. Before we get to some funny and fun Big Ten video, can we just talk about Jim Harbaugh? A lot of Michigan people are mad at me for what it is that I said yesterday. I was just reading somebody's tweet on how great it is to look at Jim Harbaugh through the prism of ultimate Michigan man who never beats Ohio State and is afraid to play them during the pandemic year and then oversees a ton of cheating and then jumps from a burning building into the safety of Justin Herbert's arms. Your thoughts on everything going on with Harbaugh as he declares himself innocent of all charges again?
I respect it. I mean, hey, someone tweeted out the meme from The Dark Knight Rises where Bane's like, we need someone left at the wreckage, brother. And that was what Jim Harbaugh did. He left. Sharon Moore's taking the hit. Like, what are they going to do? He doesn't coach in college football anymore. There are no punishments for his actions. He might as well just go.
There are, though. There are some.
Not really.
Well,
not for him.
No, but there could be. Mike was pointing this out yesterday. The NFL one time did penalize Jim Tressel because this consortium that has a free minor league does pretend to be in business with college football, and they can punish him if they wanted to.
They're not going to do that.
Those days are over.
Yeah, they're not doing that.
Lucy, stay out of my lane. The line is, they expect one of us in the records, brother.
Are you enjoying the Harbaugh experience? Because I think we're going to have a year of I don't know that we've had a coach that can run this publicly goofy in a while, because he's now got the confidence of, I just ran college football. I might not be the best coach in my own family, but I'm better than most anybody else.
I think I'm going to enjoy it now that my favorite team isn't scheduled to play him every year. I think it's going to be fun just to see, like, his personality is so unique and interesting. Like, I don't want to compare it to Dan Campbell because they're very, very different personalities, but they're both very intense and weird in the way they're weird. And that has been so fun to watch. So I'm excited to see Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL, just kind of being his, like, weirdo, goofy self.
Lucy, so there was a lot of stuff in this like NCAA notice of allegations, which is what broke on Monday and led to the Harbaugh press conference. But there was also there was a lot of maybe some like serious things in it, but then also like a lot of like silly like not NCAA nonsense, like a coach getting a level 2 violation for getting someone verified on Instagram. So how are we supposed to wade through some of this like silly NCAA stuff and figure out what is actually going on here with the Connor Stallion situation?
That's a great question. I don't know if the NCAA has an answer, so I don't know if I have an answer. They just take all of this stuff, and the NCAA is so notorious for things that are actually important and actually matter, not taking them seriously, and things like buying a recruit a cheeseburger, just making that the end of the world. I think what we're going to see happen is honestly kind of what has happened to Michigan the last, 2 seasons anyways, where we're going to see their head coach, just a different head coach this time, get suspended for a couple games. Because from what I saw, most of the level 2 infractions are related to Sharon Moore, and all the serious level 1 stuff is Harbaugh, who is gone, and Connor Stallions, who is obviously gone.
Can you guys walk me through this story and the credibility of this story from Athlon's, a magazine, an entity that I've been reading since childhood, but that doesn't really have – Steve Corder is the author of this article, but this is not a place where news generally breaks.
They're still at it, huh?
Not only are they still at it, this report, if it were in the mainstream, I think people would be feasting right now like piranha, because – Deion Sanders, you will remember, garnered a whole lot of attention and a whole lot of people who are interested in seeing him win and interested in seeing him fail. And this report makes it feel like Colorado of 2024 is old Miami. It's guns and crazy and a recklessness in the locker room. What is the credibility of this report?
So Steve Corder spoke to former players from the University of Colorado, and they anonymously gave quotes. And one former player said, "It's like a real-life Grand Theft Auto video game. There are many distractions with fights, guns, money floating around. The environment is unlike anything I've come before." Inside the article, you'll see details of allegations of Shiloh Sanders bullying Cormani McClain and bloody fist fights over gambling debts, and really just a lack of true relationship with a head coach outside of a certain handpicked a couple of players, most notably his sons and Travis Hunter, who is like a son to Deion.
It would make sense that the way that Deion Sanders is doing everything in the new Wild West of business in college football, that something like this would be so. But Lucy, what do I do with the credibility of this report? Because if this was being reported by ESPN, everybody would be talking
And Dan,
about
to
it.
your point, there are other people, like Jason Whitlock has spoken to former football players from that program on the record, not anonymously, and they've levied not so, like, these are really headline-grabbing words that are being used here, but they haven't painted a very positive picture of the locker room culture in Colorado.
Not sure I want to hear from former players, though, because they have an axe to grind with Deion Sanders.
Or
know?
Jason Whitlock.
Yeah, but their axe to grind is the culture here and their treatment inside. Yes, it's very evident, but you want them to tough out what they have gone on the record to say is a bad culture just because you don't think it's as tough, and they have
I
an
understand
axe
what Stugotz is doing. We do this all the time with bad messengers. Unfortunately, on these kinds of messages, there can only be bad messengers because there's punitive damage done if you do it while still inside the program.
Would you prefer the other side of the token where conventional sporting entities just really embrace the Colorado thing because it's a ratings bonanza? Because I don't think you're painting an accurate picture there either.
No, I'm fine with this. I'm just saying that Dan is questioning the credibility of this, and I'm saying it would be more credible if it were current players and not former.
I don't mean to question the credibility. Lucy, walk me through what I'm supposed to do in the new information age. What I'm saying is, so if this was an ESPN report, everybody would be talking about it today.
Yes, if it were an ESPN report. I haven't read Athlon Sports since I was a kid. Sorry, Dan. I haven't heard of this guy before. I think the word violent is a very dangerous word to throw around. The stuff that we've heard about Deion not talking to players and not having close relationships, I think that's all been pretty well documented before, especially The Athletic did such a great article a couple months back, just talking to players who were at Colorado before and then transferred when Deion got in. I felt like that was a really good story. When it comes to this is such dangerous territory that I don't really want to buy into it because I think the implications are really bad for Deion in Colorado if it's true, and I don't want to spread anything that might not be true.
I get that. That's
journalism. Guess who got a journalism major? Me.
I know it's
degree.
It's very responsible, but might not be true. This is why I'm asking. You said I was questioning the credibility. I guess I'm questioning because I'm just asking about it. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this kind of story when everyone is after Deion Sanders and there is a misinformation age, and you do have to be careful about who's reporting what. But I do feel like it's unfair if someone's done the reporting of this, talked to former players. I do think it's unfair to dismiss the reporting just because he doesn't happen to work for ESPN.
What's working against him is that he's not working for ESPN, that he's working for Athlon Sports, that we haven't read this thing since we were kids and they never reported anything. I
think it rings believable, and I think it would of any college football program that started off 3-0 and was the national darling and then went completely off the rails and lost 8 of their last 9 games. Something was happening in that program.
The bullying is not something.
The offensive line is what was happening, Greg.
This is not a normal. This is not a normal thing.
But you know what I mean? If you start 3-0 and finish 4-8, that's not normal in football, and something was happening, and I think
she just told you what it was.
It's normal for Colorado.
She just told you what it was, though. Their line was too small. Their offensive line was much too small.
Okay, I'm suggesting there might have been other factors.
I know, but that's why Lucy's saying it's unfair and irresponsible to make the other factors. Hey, Deion can't control his black kids.
Yeah, but this isn't an anonymous Twitter account. This is a journalistic entity that you have given credibility because you have read it, and no one's really had anything to say about this company's credibility other than they're not ESPN. They've spoken to former players. I understand casting a fair amount of scrutiny here, but I think the light that we're shining on this is also a little bit unfair. This is not. I mean, you're giving us the avenue of this is either true or fiction. I imagine it's a little bit more complicated, and he goes out of his way to say this is a former player's perspective.
Knowing the journalist is an interesting one, and I think this is something that is changing now in the age of credibility. Lucy, just by virtue of her voice over a year here, is gaining credibility. This is a difficult thing.
It's not working for me.
This is a difficult thing, though, to manage because no one here knows this journalist, right? We don't know who Steve is.
I've never heard of Steve Quarter before. We should probably have him on to defend maybe the merits of this story. And Deion has done the public social media thing of hinting at other people's intent when it comes to these types of things. I mean, it's very obvious to anyone, and several media companies have covered the preferential treatment that he gives his two sons and Travis Hunter. There's a video out there circulating, hey, at the next level, you're not allowed to hit the quarterback. You don't hit Travis. You don't hit Shador. You don't hit them. I'm teaching you that. That's something that you do at the next level. That's how we do it here in Colorado.
Where's 60 Minutes now? Huh?
Still going strong, Stugotz. 60 Minutes is still going strong.
We'll investigate this.
Okay. It is still a very reputable news source, 60 Minutes is.
If you say so.
This one is juicy, though. When you think of all you do know about the program, the idea of his son being able to bully people in the locker room with a power unlike anybody in the locker room, because he's not just the coach's son, but he's their best player. He's the quarterback, and a young kid. All of this is ripe for the dramatic tensions that Lucy says we shouldn't irresponsibly talk about.
And you should view it with scrutiny, but it may be circumstantial, but Cormani McClain transferred out of the program, and they use a transfer portal more than anybody, so there's a ton of roster turnover. Ample anonymous athletes to interview.
Look, you guys are not talking about the most important part of Colorado right now, and that's that they decided to open up the season with North Dakota State. North Dakota State. We're not going to be worrying about any of this in about a month.
You don't do that. You don't schedule
Don't
Dakota.
do that. Everyone learns the hard way. Do not do that.
Lucy, you're not talking about the other most important thing, which is the new Big Ten Maps video with the new West Coast schools added to it. What was your reaction when you saw it?
Hold on a second. Let's play it and delight her all over again with it. If we want.
I wish we had the music. I could sing the song, though.
Okay, go ahead and sing the song. Go ahead.
I want to live forever. I don't care. That's the only line I know.
Okay, so you can't sing the song.
Can you learn
that's the only line that matters.
Can you learn the words and sing it, and that'll be like our intro music for our college football segment this fall?
Foot Girls?
Yeah, I can absolutely do that.
What do you like about this video? Why do you get this radiant delight around you?
It's just the best commercial. It's such a good commercial. When they announced that USC and UCLA were joining the Big Ten, my first thought was, what's going to happen to this commercial? We had a pretty big scandal in the Big Ten 2 years ago because they brought this commercial. They were using it again, and they changed the song. They changed the song that everybody knows and loves. And the band that sings this song, I don't know their name, but they really only have this song. So they tweet at me all the time because I love this commercial, and I'm always tweeting about this commercial. And so when they said, hey, we're not changing the map commercial, we're adding to it, it was one of the best days of my life. I was nervous. I was nervous for a lot of reasons. One, I've made a lot of threats to the Big Ten Conference that I don't think I would have been able to uphold had they not brought this commercial back. I am just so excited because it's such a good commercial. Like, I can't tell you how it feels when you're watching your team lose by 30, which unfortunately my favorite team does a lot, and you're like, this is rock bottom, and they put this commercial on, and you have hope again.
One of the best days of your life, Lucy.
Yeah, I love this. I love this commercial. It is such a good commercial. And all my Big Ten brethren out there will agree.
That's not possible.
It's absolutely possible.
All right. Has a commercial ever made it one of the best days of your life, Juju? Please put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. I don't think that's actually a possible thing. I don't think Jessica, you're disagreeing with this.
What if you're in the commercial and you make a lot of money off of it, or residuals? I know people that have bought houses off commercial money, Dan.
Fair enough. But Lucy, I don't see you anywhere in this commercial.
She should be in it. That's why she should sing the song.
My heart is in the commercial. My soul is in the commercial.
All right. Thank you for joining us from all that wood in a basement from your father's house.
The woodshed.
We appreciate it.
I want to live forever. I don't care.
Tim Walz is younger than Brad Pitt.
What?
That's funny.
I mean, Brad Pitt's 50. He's my age, isn't he?
Young 50, though.
Isn't he 50? How old is Brad Pitt now?
Older than Tim Walz.
He's like 60, Brad Pitt. Great mini facelift, by the way. If anyone knows where he got that done.
Good work.
Let me know in like 10 years.
No. Solid work.
Do you think most people know that Brad Pitt has a facelift? I don't think people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They know.
The big 6-0.
You think most people know that Brad Pitt is 60 years old and has a facelift? Because I'd never considered it until you guys just said it right now.
Did you see Bullet Train?
Yes. But you seem...
He looked younger than he did in Ocean's 11 in that movie.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Did you know that Brad Pitt had a facelift?
What'd you think of that movie? Bullet Train. What? I'm genuinely asking. What did you think of it?
What'd you think?
It was big and fast and dumb and
nice little fun light
enjoyable.
movie.
And,
Bullet Train, yeah.
Bad Bunny.
And a rare
Bad
action
Bunny
movie
was in it?
where he spends a lot of time fighting on a train and is a great assassin at the age of 60 because that's the age of all of our assassins these days.
Aaron Taylor Johnson was good in it, right?
I feel like you're leading the witness here.
I'm not. I'm just. I'd like
It's a
the
really
movie
weird line of questioning.
The nice little cameo from Ryan Reynolds.
It is a fun, quick movie, unlike most of the things in the Brad Pitt arsenal. It goes by very fast. It's very well
Made this
done.
very weird.
Hence the name.
Well, 7 wasn't for
What did you think of Michael Shannon's role in it?
I like Michael Shannon in anything that Michael
Why are you
Shannon
being
he's
weird?
in.
I'm not. He made it weird. I was just asking
Just
a
having a
colleague, like,
conversation,
"Hey,
yeah,
I
right.
saw that movie. I saw Virtuosity yesterday. You have any opinions on
Right.
that? It's not weird."
What'd you think? Right.
But you're asking it weirdly.
With Mike.
No, I didn't.
I want Billy to get the Denzel Washington Virtuosity acceptance speech.
Oh, so good.
Mike
I was
Ryan's
thinking
been
about
watching
that
some
yesterday.
weird movies. Mike Ryan came in here the other day talking about Crimson Tide, one of the great submarine movies ever made.
Yeah, arguably.
Roy and I were talking about Beetlejuice this morning, getting our little makeup done.
Were you
I
jealous
never
that you
saw
weren't
it.
here yesterday? Oh, so you didn't. You and Tony. That nobody's seen Beetlejuice around here in a demo.
Better be careful. Don't say it one more time. What are your top 3 submarine movies?
Oh, wow.
Are there 3?
Hunt for Red October is absolutely one of them.
Crimson Tide is certainly in the.
I think that's gold medal.
Same.
There's
Yeah.
U-571.
It's gonna be hard
there's
to come
Down
by.
Periscope.
It's gonna
I
be
think there's a
hard to
Clark
come
Gable
by.
vehicle.
A bronze medalist is going to be tough here on sub movies.
Can a movie be a submarine movie and a shark movie?
Yes.
No, you have to choose one.
If there's shark attacks.
No. Wait a minute.
There's
No,
the
these are
USS
genres.
Indianapolis.
No.
Like that's a
The Nicolas Cage. Who's
that's a
Nicolas Cage
battleship
in that
movie
one?
and a shark movie.
No, wait a minute. You can't be both of those.
I'm
things.
with Dan.
These are two different genres.
How about
Right.
workplace drama? Crimson Tide.
How is it that you're making them both? You do not have a movie that is both considered a submarine movie and a shark movie. You are either a shark movie or a submarine
I
movie.
didn't think that this movie exists. Billy's the one that asked the question.
Well, the
I-
Meg has a submarine and a shark that is killing people. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
the
but
submarine's killing people too.
Well, no, the submarine is going down to
Right.
kind of see the shark.
The star is the shark, though.
You know, if that counts, Titanic.
The Meg has to be a shark movie. It cannot be a submarine
I'm
movie.
just asking if it could be considered. I'm not throwing my hat in the ring for the Meg being a submarine movie.
No, the Meg is it's on the Google results for suspenseful submarine movies. The Meg and the Meg 2, The Trench.
Look, a Google result gave us an obese pole vaulter today because Greg Cody didn't
This
know it
one's
was
not AI.
artificial
They'll give you
intelligence.
anything.
No,
I mean, yeah.
I am not willing to accept because Google registers this as a submarine movie. I will not accept that a Jason Statham vehicle where he's the second star behind a shark is a submarine movie.
You guys have missed the biggest and first and original submarine movie, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
A classic.
What
And
about
a great ride.
The Life
Jules
Aquatic.
Verne, 1954.
I don't think The Life Aquatic is a submarine movie. Does it qualify as a
It's
submarine
certainly
movie?
a submarine
Wait a
movie.
minute. So if you have a submarine in the movie, it's automatically a submarine movie?
Have you noticed? Well, no, because Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, formerly known as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, if you've noticed, since it's shown up on streamers, they've dropped the Part 1. Alluding to the fact that there isn't going to be a Part 2 to that. The next one's just going to be a whole new movie. They talk about this sub. It opens with like a sub scene, but the next movie's around finding this sub, and it's why it's gone so far over budget. It's because, Tom Cruise doesn't half-ass anything. He's getting real subs.
What about submarine sandwich movies?
You know what I've noticed? I've been thinking a lot about subs, and it's not just because I saw Crimson Tide, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. There's a NASCAR advertisement on one of the cars that's like buildsubmarines.com. I haven't. You know what? I'm gonna check that
Interesting.
website out for the first time because I wonder, is this like just for really affluent people to build their own private submarines, or is this like
the submersible people?
or is it a job placement thing? Like, hey, this can be. I actually think. Oh, dude, there was like a really funny picture that is building submarines right now. Hang on, I'm gonna make you laugh with this name. There's a funny picture. Oh, it was a guy from the Braves. Tip of my tongue.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that we've now got a submarine pitcher that is not someone who throws underhanded? He's just someone who
he's actually building submarines.
In my age, many years ago, I think it was Glenn Garber was an old-timey submarine pitcher. You're telling me there's a brave pitcher now? Strider is Strider?
No. I think he actually threw submarine balls. I'm gonna find this pitcher, dude. There was a pitcher that's building submarines.
We're talking sub movies: 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, 50 Shades Freed.
I just Googled buildsubmarines.com.
Really?
And it appears to be a fairly brilliant ad campaign for the United States Navy.
Oh. I love a good website name. I found this website called roadtripplaylist.com. Incredible. I just want to go. What should I play on a road trip? I don't know. Website will tell me.
That's a shortcut. I've been taking those with movies where there are a couple of people, I'm stuck in an algorithm. Every time I want a sleeper movie of some sort, I get the same, I get just great information off of somebody who's done all the work for me by just saying, hey, here are 10 movies that nobody knows about that you should watch.
Attaboy.
Boof Bonser.
Boof. Yeah. He's building subs, huh?
Tell me more. Find me as much information about this as you can. Billy, I really do feel I'm finding myself, because you and I had a conversation both last night and this morning, I am finding myself wildly disappointed. I feel like today was one of the days that we built Meadowlark for, that you were going to end up at your alma mater as one of the proud and most famous alums, and you were going to be there when it was announced. I'm assuming this news is going viral all over the place, that Florida International University football, the Golden Panthers, up.
Just Panthers.
They're just the Panthers now. It used to be the Golden Panthers. We've removed the Golden.
Sun Blazers before that. Before the football.
That they are what, 9-33 ever since Mario Cristobal left. They are they're not very good.
I don't think that's an actual stat.
Well, they're 9-33 in their last 41 games.
I know they were 30-24 in the game against UM.
Yes, they were. But we had a chance for you to be out there with Armando Pitbull as they broke what I'm assuming is viral news, that what used to be the Golden Panthers have a new stadium that is now sponsored by Pitbull. You could have been there talking to him, and instead we failed to do all of that.
The Bull.
Well, I will say this. Lucy mentioned earlier that today or yesterday was one of the greatest days of her life because the Big Ten commercial came back. And I feel like today is one of the greatest days of my life because two of the things that I care about the most, FIU and Pitbull, have merged, and now there's a partnership. And, we were trying to make things work, but unfortunately I have a job. So we're here today, and we're kind of trying to keep things on track. We have a number of guests. We have some moving parts. We have weekend observations. We have Greg Cody. I was thinking of back in my day. We have a gas bag of the week. We have a lot of things going on here. So things didn't quite align the way that we thought they would. Timing wasn't going to work out. But I will tell you this. And I can't say too much, but I don't think that this is going to be the last time that we may have the possibility of encountering Pitbull and FIU. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe news forthcoming on people maybe calling games or what have you, and maybe we'll have an opportunity down the road.
All right, that is cryptic, but I was kind of hoping that it would all come together today.
Billy, I was thinking, I doubt Pitbull took any one-on-one questions today or did any sort of long extended interviews, but I was thinking this is a really good starting off point for a longer partnership with Billy and Pitbull at FIU.
Yeah, you got to play it cool. Let me tell you guys a quick story, a quick aside here about a way that we one time we played things the wrong way, and this was with not ever friend of the show. We were hoping to make friend of the show Jose Canseco, and we long wanted Jose to be on the show. And then I found, this is when I was doing a lot of the booking, I found a tweet where Jose Canseco praised something that Dan said on the show. So he praised it. He said, Dan Le Batard is exactly right. I don't remember. If I were to guess, it was probably ripping Rob Manfred because I don't think that he likes him either. So Jose then said, Dan nailed this. He got the nail on the head. And I had a contact from when we were trying to negotiate sending me into the desert with Jose to see Bigfoot. I still had a contact there.
A great sentence.
So, yeah.
A truly special sentence.
That was very close to happening.
I know. It
fell apart because Jose kind of ghosted us, which is crazy because I heard the budget and they were offering him legitimate money to make this happen. And I remember sitting down and telling my wife, they're putting substantially more than I make in a year into this idea. I don't know that this is.
This was ESPN
smart.
was willing to allow you to chase Bigfoot through the wilderness with Jose.
Well, no,
Canseco.
he knew where the Bigfoot were, so it wasn't
Was
chasing.
it Bigfoot and aliens?
No, this is just Bigfoot. But
so Jose bailed.
Is it possible he's Bigfoot?
Well, I think that what happened is that it got too far. Like from what I understand, if we told this story before, is there was a conference call with Jose's rep, but Jose was just in the background on the speakerphone and was participating in this call. And then like the stipulations that they had, which was like, well, you have to just get on Jose's RV with like 6 other people, and you can't have a camera person in there, and you can't really follow us because it's a secret location and all that. Like that's when things started unraveling, because I think that a lot of the things were like, okay, well, we can work it around this way and we can work it around that way. And I talked to my wife.
You were
like,
making all the maneuvers
there were
necessary.
many concessions being made, and I think that he was not prepared for that. But anyways,
I think Jose thought to himself, it never gets this far.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's what I thought was going on. And it's like, oh boy, how do I get out of this one?
Well, you say that, but this is a skepticism that has always surrounded Bigfoot. I feel like we were really close.
Well, so anyways, the point is, like, I still had a contact from that adventure with Jose Canseco, and then when Jose Canseco supported Dan, I reached out to this contact. I'm like, Dan would love to talk to Jose Canseco tomorrow. And what happened is I got a confirmation. Jose will join tomorrow at like 11 a.m. And I got so excited, I tweeted it out. And then I told you guys, and then we spent the entire show saying Jose's going to join, Jose's going to join. And then we were just talking about, like, how do we do? What do we do with Jose? What do we do? We have to ask him about this. We have to ask him about that. And then we spooked him, and they canceled 15 minutes before. So I feel like maybe that's what Jess is alluding to with Pitt, is like, we got to slow play this to kind of make the relationship. We had inroads with him once before when Mike dressed up as Pitbull, and then he retweeted Mike and he congratulated him or whatever. So, like, I feel like this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship between FIU and Pitbull, and then kind of we figure out our way in here.
You can't scare Pitbull. If you scare Pitbull, he may
bite.
That's what they're known for. So just be careful. Let's slow play this. Let's get Billy in the right places, talking to the right people.
Movers and shakers.
By week 3, week 4, Pitbull Stadium, Pitbull's in his suite. I heard there may be a Pitbull anthem. Maybe Billy's a background dancer in the Pitbull anthem music video. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Cleaning a couple things up. Boof Bonser was never a Brave. So
really?
that was just an
twin,
acquisition
right?
that I made in MVP baseball that just stuck with me, and it was kind of like Mandela.
Where did he play?
I think it was a
San
twin.
Francisco,
okay.
Minnesota Twin as well. BuildSubmarines.com is a slick effort by the Navy, as if the armed forces spending in NASCAR has gone well. They decided to go back to that but it does seem cool. I think I'd like to build submarines over fight in one.
Yeah. Submarines are a bit terrifying to me. I don't like the idea of them. I would get claustrophobic in something like that. It would seem I wouldn't trust a submarine.
Seems like a really stressful work environment, especially if you get like half an EAS.
Are you manning the submarine? I mean, are you in a Navy submarine?
I'm manning the submarine in that I would be a man in the submarine.
But what if I told you for like near $1 million, I can get you and about 6 of your friends in a private submarine to see the Titanic?
I
would do that.
thought you were going to end with Bigfoot.
Controlled by an Xbox.
To see Bigfoot under the sea with Jose Canseco.
Logitech.
Put up the photo of Mike Ryan with Pitbull. It's one of the better costumes we've ever had around here. I do not blame Pitbull for being very excited that someone would come that close to recreating him.
You told me I was, quote, crazy for this one.
It was a seminal moment in this show's history. I want to, Greg, you had already given us.
Do you think I can fit in that suit?
Oh, no way. No way.
You are correct. I tried.
No way.
How does this suit not fit after 8 years and 40 pounds?
It's a terrible feeling.
It is not great. But
someone do something to my suit.
Greg, you did go to buildingsubmarine.com. You reported the news before Mike Ryan that this was a lovely website, that you thought it was ingenious advertising.
I think it's a brilliant ad campaign. I really do, because the idea of building submarines is fun. It's a go-to website name, if nothing else. You want to build your own submarine. I mean, Elon Musk builds rocket ships. Why can't I build my own submarine?
I have been disappointed today. As I said, I wanted to start this long-term relationship with Armando today. I wanted it to have legs today. But I am certainly used to around here hearing a lot about wonderful and great ideas that never end up happening. One of them that I thought was ingenious, Billy, this was your idea, and then I don't know what happened. I went on vacation and it hadn't happened. We had a billboard possibility here all over South Florida that would have been, you would have done a QR code on a billboard and you would have gone to it. It would have just been that. And it would have just said something religious about, saving somebody or, and then you would have just gotten inside and it would have been Connor McDavid is not a savior. He's overrated. That's what would have been inside. We would have had billboards all over South Florida. I thought it was going to be executed while I was gone. What happened?
Well, so this was going to happen.
You left.
It was going to happen in Edmonton because we got turned down by Edmonton by multiple people.
Regrettably.
Yeah. So then what was going to happen is we came up with like an acronym, and the letters spelled out choke, and it was going to be on a board, and it was just going to be like very vague in a QR code, and it was going to be like healing, emotion, like things like that, so like to maybe entice people that are looking for like salvation to click on this thing, and then once they clicked on that. We were going to have also a fake website to get it by the campaign. So there'd be a fake website, and then once we announced it live, we were going to change the website, and then I was going to say about how much Connor McDavid is not your salvation. He's a choker.
The old bait and switch.
That was going to happen in Edmonton. And then what ended up happening is then we put our efforts into finding a billboard in South Africa that you were going to see by the airport with Greg Cody's face. And we were trying to figure out when you were going to drive by the airport to see Greg Cody's face.
What a great joke.
Yeah, and then what ended up happening is we just got like 6 around South Florida. No, we got a couple here. The price was right. It was free, I think.
Yeah, what ended up happening is we didn't do anything.
But we looked at South Africa to have Greg Cody surprise you on vacation.
Inspired. You get points for the idea.
No, you don't. All we do is have ideas that we don't complete around here, including meeting up with Pitbull today.
But no points for having one?
No.
I mean, come on.
Do I get any points? We should interview Boof Bonser.
Ooh.
That's my contribution.
How about this, Dan? Here's some
finish that story.
2 points. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to interview Boof Bonser. I would also love to interview today someone talking about produce from a produce section somewhere that has that can tell us whether or not it's okay to break ginger in half. I would also love for somebody to bring in pickle brine so that Greg Cody can drink it during the show. But none of those things will actually happen.
Don't forget Steve Corder. We need him on the list.
Yeah.
Well, I have something you might like, Dan. It's a segment that you're always talking about, and we haven't done that many times.
Yes,
a gas bag of the week. You want to do that?
Oh, wow.
Yes. Please, let's do. Finally. Thank you.
I want to win this.
Gas bag of the week. Who is our gas bag of the week?
Gas bag of the week.
Grifol has been turned into this obsequious, sniveling.
I don't know if he's been turned into anything.
This absolute Uriah Heep, where Jerry's a great man who wants to win. He's a great man.
I think that he's always been that.
Jerry,
and if you talk to people who know Pedro or have known Pedro Grifol, that's one of the things that I was told to look out for. That he's a climber,
just an inveterate suck-ass. And this, Jerry's had tough decisions to make. It's not a tough decision to fire your dumbass. That's an easy decision. He doesn't make it because they don't want the aggravation of having to slide somebody else in there and maybe give somebody a bump in salary. You're paid no matter what. Put Pedro out of his damn misery already.
That's Dan Bernstein of 670 The Score, railing against the Chicago White Sox, who have now lost 21 straight.
That's actually led to our first ever follow-up video on the gas bag of the week because things are not going well for the Chicago White Sox at the moment, Dan.
That means Pedro is 100 games on the 500.
Yes.
And he got the job.
He's 100 games under.
Boy.
Yeah. That's tough. So
I gotta go to college tomorrow. I gotta go to a doctor. Psychologist. No, I do. I had to bring my, because some few years ago I was happy, man. Now I'm bitter and weird.
You're bitter watching this team play?
No, just like because I don't think I was the bad manager when they picked Pedro in front of me. I gotta see a psychiatrist. Yeah. So I'm drinking a lot.
You are.
I have problems with my wife a lot. I scream into. The only people who get along with me is my grandkids. Everybody out, I hate him. I don't know why.
Don't take it personally.
Maybe that's why. I swear to God. I'm not playing around. A lot of people think, I know. I thought like, I was bitter myself. Like, my God, I'm this bad. Then I went to manage in Venezuela. Come and go, wow. Man, we
won a championship.
I'm not that loud. It's on my city's go. It's like, holy cow! I should be embarrassed.
Wow.
Ozzie Guillen can't be the gas bag of the week. He won a championship with the Chicago White Sox. Congratulations to Dan Bernstein, 670 the score. Looking like one of the parents from the Beastie Boys Party for Your Right to Fight. What is it?
Fight for Your Right to Party.
Right to party. Yeah.
Wow.
Nailed it, Dano.
Yeah.
No fine, though.
That is a fine.
J-Lo, you are a fly girl.
He's wearing a Beastie Boys shirt, and he looks like he's one of the parents from the original Beastie Boys video. And I am now the age where I can't remember what the name of that song was.
To be fair, Florida is a right to fight state.
Thank you,
There
Jessica.
you go.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
Over the next couple of months, we're going to have some big announcements around here that are going to be fun and exciting. And over the next couple of months, we're also going to lean into some things that we probably haven't done a ton of before because of the nature of where America is. Hasan Piker is going to join us, Stugotz. He is he is on Twitch 8 hours a day, and he's become a new and popular and influential political commentator. And I have told the audience before that I don't talk about politics around here. I have all my life talked about race, and then that ends up becoming politics because now everything is politics. But over the next few months, we're going to try and get you some voices and some angles from people. Who's breathing so hard? Is that you, Cody? Who's breathing hard into the microphone?
I'm breathing very easily.
It doesn't sound like it. You sound a little strained in general. Roy, you're with me on this, right? Even him saying I'm breathing very easily sounded like it was coming through a cheese grater.
Yeah, that doesn't sound easy.
Huh.
Okay. I tell you what, when I'm not speaking, how about I go like that?
Or you could
now
just
you sound too low.
Or you could just breathe quieter.
Stop breathing.
Like you could just not stop breathing. We don't know. Nobody here wants that. Nobody here wants that. We all dread that day. Don't stop breathing, but you could breathe a little quieter when the microphone is right under your beak.
Okay.
I'll take the blame for that. I'll just, the mic is probably too hot on Greg.
Yeah.
It's not Greg's fault. Greg's doing a great job of breathing. Good pace, good in, good out. I'll turn down his mic a little bit when he's breathing. Because I think that it's just turned up and the mic's a little too sensitive. Because Greg's doing a great job today.
Thank you, Billy.
The whole time he's breathing?
No.
That would
We'll
be
play
the
it
whole
by ear.
show.
Play it by ear. Figure it
I
out.
can hold my breath.
How long?
Not
here's
very
what I can
long.
do.
Let's not do that.
I'll hold my breath for like a minute,
Uh-huh.
a minute and a half.
You can't do it for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I feel
Really?
like
Oh, yeah.
back
In
in the
Olympic
day,
competition.
I think old Greg Goat back in the day used to go underwater in a pool and hold his breath longer than any other kid around.
Yeah, but
Greg-
that was
Sounds like a Cody
pre-asthma,
Olympic
but,
event.
Greg, you can't and shouldn't hold your breath for a minute. We can try it if you want.
It's his breath.
I don't think it's
Why
safe.
don't you do it practice it on your drive home?
No,
And then do it
not in the
next
car.
week.
Not in the car. Bad idea.
Wait till you get on the couch.
No.
Driving around in his Corvette as a
I think-
weapon.
I haven't fainted in months. Don't worry about me.
Yeah. Why don't you just hold your exhales for the moment?
Okay.
Then we'll try one at a time. We'll hold the exhales and then we'll hold the inhales.
Here's the thing, Billy. I'd be for trying this. This has been happening more and more around here. I'd be for trying as an exercise. From the maker of a staring contest on his audio podcast, The Greg Cody Show.
That was a
featuring
good one,
Greg
though.
Cody.
Great idea, man.
Yeah.
I would be for just sitting here and watching him hold his breath for a full minute, and I assure you he's not going to be able to do it.
I think he could.
I don't think he's going to be able to do it. But the problem with any exercise with Greg Cody is that I just asked, can we get some pickle brine in here for next week so that he can drink some pickle brine? And he's like, ooh, I'm on a lot of high blood pressure medication. I don't want to. It's
HIPAA?
It's
Jeez.
dangerous.
Well, he's right. I mean,
it is dangerous to drink a bunch of salt. That even if you're not on high blood pressure medication, you drink pickle brine, you're going to need it afterward.
Yeah. Yeah, my doctor says I need much more sodium in my diet, so I guess I should drink more pickle juice. Now, we're on blood pressure medication, like about 40% of everyone is. So
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. It seems like you ran out of breath there.
Well said.
It seems
40% of everyone.
At Le Batard Show is
It's noon, Dan.
40% of everyone. No, this is about when he starts to fade, yes. Is 40% of everyone on high blood pressure medication, yes or no?
more.
Stugotz has a couple of top 5 lists that are ready to put a bow on some of the things we've done today. One of them is top 5 players in sports who connote dye.
Yes, dice.
The plural of dice, not hair dye or not people dying, like Greg Cody would do if he held his breath for a minute. And top 5 people in sports who connote through their name produce.
Yes, something you would find in the produce aisle at a supermarket.
Right,
yes.
not production, not what you think of as production in sports,
Right.
produce.
Right. Like
Not
Ginger from
not
Gilligan's Island.
Like Al Banana.
Like ginger
Exactly.
that you crack in half. Ginger that you
Al
crack in
Banana.
half.
Let me scratch him off.
Yeah, you got to get rid
Sorry.
of Al Banana.
I should've
Jose
said that.
cilantro.
Al
My
Banana.
boy.
This is not how you play the
But
game.
it's just produce, like it can't be Jared Mayo.
I don't know.
Ooh,
That's
that's a great
that's
question.
condiment. That's a
Yeah.
condiment. Different
That's
category.
things you would find in the supermarket in general. We could play that game.
No.
Well, what about juice that's next to the produce?
Ooh.
No, but it's not produce.
Does Bill Raftery count?
Onions?
Not what we're
Thought
doing.
about it.
Let's see. Which one do you want to do first?
Ooh, I just thought of a good one.
Let's do produce.
All right. Top 5. Let's see if yours is better than any in his top 5. Let's see.
Ready?
No, you wait until
okay. Okay.
Why would I want it
This
now?
is a man that
just
can
have a
hold his
top
breath,
one.
I'm telling you.
Come on,
Yeah.
it's noon.
Go
He's
ahead.
sharp as a tack today.
Sharp as a carpet tag.
Have you noticed that this is when you tend to deteriorate on Tuesdays, or have you not noticed this?
I'm just peeking.
Yeah.
Number 5, Stugotz, or do we have any OLI?
Nope, just a straight 5.
Is
Dan.
this just sports or all of entertainment?
These are top 5 people in sports, athletes, who connote something you would find in the produce aisle at a supermarket.
So no Gene Shalit.
I mean, you say people in
That's
sports.
produce.
Coaches, like you just said, athletes there. So you need to.
At this point,
Top 5.
just giving the 5 would be quicker.
Number
than all of
5.
That's true.
Kelsey Plum,
Number 4.
Eli Apple,
Number 3.
Cleo Lemon,
Number 2.
Don Cherry,
And number 1.
Daryl Strawberry.
A fine list. Greg Cody, do you have
Julius
any?
Peppers.
Do you have any better than that?
Yeah, I had Bob Lemon, not knowing he was going to do Cleo Lemon, so I had to audible to Ralph Pomegranate.
Oh, Ralphie. Yeah.
Good list. Pommy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So your ad lib off of Bob Lemon when you scurried away because he stole it with Cleo Lemon
Right.
was to go Rob Pomegranate.
Ralph.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, come on. That's another 5.
Rob was his
like
little
$100.
known brother.
My bad. It's just such a joke you love to make.
What? I've never said the word pomegranate.
You've been
on your
making
air
it for
before.
50 years. You changed someone's name to Al Banana. You've been making it. They beat you to it with Al Banana.
I know,
and
he
you
did.
come back on the back end with Ralph Pomegranate.
Ken Pom.
Yeah.
Not the same.
Oh.
Top 5 players, athletes, people in sports who connote die. Number 5, Stugotz.
Andrew Luck.
Number 4.
Jermaine Dye.
Number 3.
Antrell Roll.
Number 2.
Roll the dice, Dan.
Yeah,
Dice K.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, nice. Okay, 2. Number 1.
Antonio McDice.
Cardale Jones.
Oh. My list.
Yeah. it's your list.
OLI.
It is his list. Do you have something else that you wanted to get to? You're still
That's
staring
I'm
at
staring
the
at
list.
Antonio McDice because when he played, that's all I did was stare at Antonio McDice. He's just one of those guys you stare at when he's playing
I mean,
basketball. He was chiseled,
He was
man.
very muscular.
John Bones Jones.
Ooh.
I counted, by the way. Greg did the 60 seconds with no breathing. He just didn't want to distract anyone.
No, we can do that, Billy, if you insist. You're the executive producer
No.
today, and it's going great. And we have, if you want to just stare as we wait for Hasan Piker, you get everything out there in the clearing out of everything of your fine breathing.
If I'm going to do it, I have to enter a zone.
Can you get near the microphone, please? When
That's
you're
my
talking?
fault. I
Get in
turned
the
it down.
zone.
Hold
You
on a
won't hear
second.
me.
No, you didn't tone it down.
Oh.
Just like a professional, Greg. At the end of a workday, pretend like you're still here broadcasting and working with us. Okay, I know you checked out as soon as we promoted your
It's
podcast
lunchtime.
a bunch of times, but stay with us here.
You want me to hold my breath or no?
All right, we're going to do this then. I don't think it's a
Amazing.
good idea, but I don't think you realize how long a minute actually is. So we're just going to sit here and stare at the clock as you try to hold your breath.
Wow.
Are you ready? At the 16-minute mark, you try and hold your breath for a minute. We're just going to stare at you. I think this is a terrible idea, and I think you're going. He's going to try and cheat. But
That's what they said about landing on the moon.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Greg is holding his breath presently. We're 4 seconds
He's
in.
smiling. There's a smile on
He's
his face. He won't be
He's
smiling
a
in 30. I
calm-
promise
Don't make
you.
him laugh.
What if a nostril moves?
got a
Because I
calm
can see him
disclosure
cheating under
Should
these
put a mirror underneath.
circumstances.
No, he's doing fine.
Those
No.
those nostrils are substantive. They could sneak air without us realizing it.
Potentially.
Is his chest moving?
No, I don't see any chest
he's
movement.
holding it.
No, he's doing great so far.
You're halfway there, Greg.
30 seconds.
Only 50 more seconds to go.
What if he's dead?
No, he's not dead. He's there. I can tell he's got a
Good question, though.
lively look to him there. But also,
Relaxed.
I'm
he's
not
in the
totally
zone.
Sure
a little
that-
blink.
But I saw.
He closed his eyes there, but
Was
that's
that
not
him?
cheating.
Was that him grunting?
I
No,
feel like some
wasn't
air
him.
got in there.
53 seconds, 7 to go. 6, 5.
Oh, the lip is
4,
quivering. The lip is
3, 2, 1. And Greg has done it. History has been made. Greg Cody
did
held
you-
his breath.
This is the part that we have to worry about,
Yes.
though.
Did you feel like quitting at any point? Greg?
lightheadedness?
Yes,
Were
I
you,
was
when were you worried? When did you get
unbelievable.
worried
But
there?
you said 90 seconds. You could do 90 seconds.
when-
but-
I
did
was
you-
praying that the minute would be up.
Oh, incredible.
But when? Like, when did you start praying?
Well, when somebody said 7 seconds ago, I had to really work for those last.
The
7
last
seconds.
7 are always the hardest 7. That's what they say.
If this were 2020, we would be able to diagnose that you do not have COVID right now.
Wow, really?
Big
You
day.
guys don't remember
Wow.
when that was a thing? It was like, if you can hold your breath for 20 seconds, you don't have COVID.
Really?
How about that?
As I
We all
said-
just memory hold it. I get it.
As I said, we are going to get to Hasan Piker. We're waiting for Hasan Piker to get here.
8 hours a day on Twitch, huh?
Well, not just
someone
8
who does more than us.
8 hours a day on Twitch, twice as much is what we do, and the political commentary keeps giving you every day gives you more and more to talk about. It is something that you can. If you have some fluency on the subject matter, you can spend 8 hours a day talking about just how weird everything in America has gotten. But before we get to him, I wanted to ask you guys if anyone has been able to verify whether or not Snoop Dogg is being paid an exorbitant amount of money for being the Olympic mascot, the way he has been being around everything and helping Peacock sell these games in a way that was and is smart. I would assume that you would have to pay a substantive amount of money to get Snoop Dogg to be this kind of symbol and salesman on behalf of everything that Peacock is doing to garner attention. And I told you when I was talking about LeBron James and the marvel of what he is doing at his age, Stugotz, that LeBron James is the second most improbable story to see at the center of these Olympics from America at his age. Snoop Dogg, from a murder trial, his 30 years of relevance is, I dare say, unlike anyone in the history of hip-hop. And hip-hop is, 50 years old, and there are plenty of guys in their 50s, but nobody gets to be this. Like, he has done commercials, like with the, I think it was like about Lee Iacocca and AOL, and I was surprised to see that like 15 and 20 years ago, to see him go and be that mainstream, for him to cross over from hip-hop and when you're coming from Death Row, Stugotz, Ice Cube has been in and out of public favor because his politics and assortment of things people find objectionable. Nobody gets to be beloved this long from hip-hop and go from murder trial to this kind of Olympic mainstream. It's just a super unusual story.
The reports are, and this is according to Forbes magazine, is that Snoop is getting paid $500,000 every single day plus expenses. He's worth every penny.
Can you tell me when you say Forbes is reporting that, because the way that I had heard that reported, I did not like the credibility of the report.
Claimed he heard it from an NBC executive, one?
Well, who claimed they heard it?
Overheard it. Who is also like
Henry McNamara, one of the world's most influential young entrepreneurs, according to Forbes, claimed he heard from an NBC executive that Snoop is getting paid $500,000 a day.
Okay, so that's
it's a flimsy report. It feels like.
Well, you gave it to Forbes, and you gave it the weight of Forbes after we had a conversation about the credibility of a Deion Sanders story, and it was just overheard at the Olympics by an entrepreneur is different than Forbes is reporting it.
That's fair. My apologies to Forbes.
I just don't know how much that would actually be worth, because I would imagine Snoop Dogg would not be cheap. Some people have theorized that this is just part of a promotional effort because he's part of The Voice show, correct? Which is also very popular. And so I don't know what any of this would cost, but I would pay a substantive amount to have the whiff. I just can't believe I'm saying any of this. The whiff of this marijuana smoke around my Olympic events. Like the idea that he has outlasted the stigma, the American public stigma of just, never mind murder, a murder accusation, a murder trial, the stigma of marijuana, that he's outlasted it. It's one of the greatest stories in the history of American pop culture. No joke that this guy gets to fit in every environment he goes to, whether it's at a fencing event or whether it's running with Death Row.
Well, Flavor Flav is also charged with attempted murder, and he's there too. So
right. This guy, Henry McNamara, said that he sat next to the NBC executive at dinner. I mean, this is reporting.
This is a good time to mention to our audience, don't commit murder, because if you're innocent.
Good advice.
Like, look what you can become.
Just to be clear also, because there's a little bit of confusion there, I think marijuana is not as serious as murder, because there seem to be, like, things that we've forgiven. It seemed like we were putting them on a level playing field. I don't think that they are equal.
Well, one of them he was not guilty of. One of them he is guilty of. Murder, not guilty. Marijuana smoke, 30-plus years in public.
Life in hip-hop is always about, tearing down preconceived notions. It was the great Dan Le Batard who once said, you got to party for your right to fight.
To fight. That's a public. Somewhere in there was a Public Enemy song that I was mixing it up with, because they
Fight
did
the
do it. No, they did. They have a lyric somewhere. Fight. No, it's not a party for your right.
They
to
have fight the
something
power
like that. I'll find it.
Yeah, no, I'll trust you on this one.
Trying to sound older, huh?
I'm gonna find it.
Where?
I am. I'm going to find what it is that I was mixing that up with before the end of the show, and perhaps as soon as we find Hasan Piker as well. We're going to get to Stugotz's weekend observations here at some point as well, but I have still not gotten, and we started the show here, and I'm scared this late in the show to go to this, because when we started the show here, it ended in a place where Greg and Stugotz were deciding that they get to decide who's American in this country.
Whoa, we never said that.
Never
Greg
said
did.
it.
Yeah.
But off of Stugotz's unpopular opinion yesterday that got him in trouble with a lot of people because he went after Simone Biles, Greg Cody also has some Simone Biles opinions that I believe to be controversial. I don't know if you're going to wade into the waters as deep as Stugotz is. Are you?
Well, I just want to quote something she tweeted, and it'll always be Twitter to me, not X. Simone Biles said, and by guys, I assume she meant fans and media. She said, you guys really need to stop asking athletes what's next after they win a medal at the Olympics. Simone, you're in a profession that attracts attention and publicity. You're the GOAT. You're the all-time greatest gymnast. You've hinted that you may continue, not retire, and be back for the LA Games in 2028, but you haven't made that definitive. It would be negligent for fans not to wonder and for media not to ask what's next. So don't go on Twitter and take great umbrage and insult that anyone would ask you what's next when that's one of the big stories in sports. If you're still doing this at 31 and still winning another gold medal and the GOATdom continues for 4 more years, huge story. Everybody wants to know. Someday, people will stop caring about Simone Biles. Don't hurry that day.
Jessica has dropped her head in her hands.
I'm off the hook, it seems like.
There is great shame all around us now, and on top of that, you're breathless. I
I'm
regret
great.
not going to immediately going to you after you had held your breath.
I could hold my breath for a minute and a half now if I wanted
Oh,
to.
boy.
But I don't.
Let's do that. Let's do that now.
Still reeling.
Jessica, why did your head drop into your hands?
It was like such a profound take from Greg. I admired how seriously you took that. Gold medal for Greg today on takes.
It's a take. What can I tell you?
Do you guys want to hear any of Public Enemy's "Party for Your Right to Fight"?
No, thank you.
Jesus, man.
I have it right here on my. I have it right here on my phone. No, you guys are good.
I think we don't want our YouTube video taken down for that.
Or to see you try to find a way to play music off your phone.
I doubt that you found the song.
I did find. I got it right here.
We done? Yeah, but not the traditional way.
Yes. What do you mean not the traditional way?
Go to iTunes.
Just sing it like we did with Lucy.
Well, I had to find it first. I wasn't.
Go to Spotify. Go anywhere.
Hum a few bars.
Go to iTunes and load up your shuffle.
It felt old as it came out of my mouth. I got to be honest. But Mike, look where he went. I mean, Google.
I was just looking for the lyrics, Stugotz. I was looking for. You can't make fun of me and come at me with iTunes, and then you guys missed what Cody did, which is hum a few tunes.
No, a few bars. That's the expression. Hum a few bars.
Exactly. Fine.
Bars of what?
Yeah.
Hasan Piker's here.
People don't hum anymore.
Okay, I want to talk to him. Thank you for doing this, Billy. I appreciate it. He's one of the most influential political commentators out there. It really is hard to find anyone that breaks things down, complicated things down better. He streams every day, as I told you, for 8 hours, and the news every day seems to provide for you even more than 8 hours of information. There are a number of things I wanted to talk to you, but thank you for joining us, Hasan. I appreciate your patience there. Thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for having me. I hope you guys can hear me well. I am currently at a basketball. I'm currently at a park. This is usually my basketball hour, and it's the one time of the day that I have a little bit of time to myself, where I take my dog out and I actually play, run some drills that I found on TikTok, so that I can stay competitive with these young guys out here. As a 33-year-old man, so I apologize for the backdrop if it's a little weird and unorthodox.
Hasan, did you ever get those shoes that were designed to help you jump higher?
Ooh, the E-Space shoes.
Yeah, the ones that had like little platforms at the bottom. Did you ever get those for your basketball training or no?
No, I never did. But I was talking to a content creator. I was on the Creator League at RDC put together a Creator League at DreamCon in Austin a couple weeks back. And I was talking to one of the basketball content creators out there by the name of YPK Ray, and he was telling me about how he has like this insole now. The kids, they have this insole they put on their shoes that makes them jump. But no, I got my dusty Kyrie Irvings here. I got a bunch of them. When they canceled the shoes, I went and bought a bunch of them on clearance because when I wear, I'm a big boy, so if a shoe works for me. It's like, I wore Hyper Dunks for like 10 years after they were discontinued. And, it happened to be that his shoes, they fit really well for me. So I went and bought a bunch of them off clearance.
Any parallels between you trying to keep up with the young men in a young men's game and you in the content game trying to keep up with everybody during a crazy political time?
Not necessarily. I'm a bit of a dynamo. I'm honestly pretty solid when it comes to my endurance and on the court as well. For a 33-year-old guy, I work out quite frequently. But as far as like the content sphere goes, I mean, I'm a one-man operation. So no, I don't see Jake Tapper doing 8-hour streams every day. That's who I'm competing with. Or when it comes down to it, like if I look at the content space, it's like I'm never going to be able to do the stuff that like Kai Cenat's doing. He's in an entirely different playing field. He's a very entertaining guy. Love him. He's great. But my lane is politics. I try to merge the two. I try to merge the entertainment and the politics stuff together, and I hope I do a decent job at it. But overall, there aren't that many hours in the day for me to be able to do even more than I'm doing currently.
We are getting you on here before you are starting your workday, so I don't know if anyone's heard what your thoughts are on Kamala Harris naming Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her VP candidate. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I love it. I'm very excited about Walz. Walz he's a fighter. He's done a lot with a very slim majority in the state legislature in Minnesota. And I've been writing for the Democratic Party of Minnesota for quite some time. So I'm actually very excited about Walz. I definitely think he was a better choice than Shapiro. A lot of people immediately think, oh, is it because of Israel or whatever? No, like Walz is also, going to be pro-Israel. Most Democrats are. In general, that's American foreign policy. My frustration with Josh Shapiro was actually because he was pro-school vouchers. Like he worked with the Republicans in the state when he became the governor to push for a school voucher program, and I think that's very right-wing for me. I don't really like that. I think that's immediately it spells that you're anti-teachers union, and that's a pretty solid, pretty important constituency for the Democratic Party. Tim Walz, on the other hand, is a teacher. So I'm very excited to hear how he will communicate a more progressive agenda for the Democratic Party. I think they actually have listened to the voters. They've been doing a lot of good things this past month, especially. They've almost become this competent party that I never really experienced. I never really thought they could be. It's been shocking. And the Republicans are kind of flailing around because they also don't know how to deal with a competent party. I think they've gotten too used to running against someone like Joe Biden. I think they got too used to running against unpopular candidates and unpopular policies in general. So we'll see what happens.
Hasan, you mentioned popularity, and I've noticed that recently, at least in terms of eyes and attention and maybe word on the street, you're a bit of an outlier in that you're more progressive, but you're sharing those progressive views on platforms like Twitch and other various accounts of social media. I've noticed there's a bit of a sea change from just 4 years ago in the last election cycle. It almost seems like there's a conservative, concerted effort to appeal to IG lifestyle pages. And we saw Trump on a highly popular Twitch stream yesterday. What do you make of this very clear strategy from the GOP?
Yeah, I think they kind of lucked into that. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump is always going to be doing stuff like that, regardless. That's unique to Donald Trump. JD Vance tries to do it with the Nelk Boys. It's not going to be the same, obviously. But in terms of the Republican Party kind of leaning into this lifestyle stuff, you're absolutely on the money on this. I think the manosphere grew quite a lot organically online, and this kind of pendulum swing occurs regardless. You got a Democratic president in charge. All of a sudden, people are going to go back to the regular old culture war issues. This is something I called immediately. As soon as Joe Biden became president, I was like, we're going back to the culture war stuff. It's going to turn into like Gamergate era politics. Everyone is going to be talking about trans people this, trans people that, things that actually don't touch on the pocketbooks of any Americans. It's not exactly a kitchen table issue. We are very dominated by right-wing culture war narratives in this country. And I think it stems from the inability of the Democratic Party in actually addressing some of the economic problems that American families are facing, and their lack of interest in actually doing something bold and brave in terms of declaring a bold and brave progressive agenda, an economic agenda. There are some good things that the Democratic Party did, even under Joe Biden, despite the fact that I'm very critical of Joe. And I think they should continue along with that so that we can move away from these I can't believe I'm going to use the term that the Democratic Party is now using, but these weirdos who are constantly focusing on really marginal, really silly, really inconsequential things, making it like the primary concern of every single person. There's this sweatiness to it. There's this nervousness to it, this anxiety to it. It's frequently imagining that there's probably a trans person behind every corner. I don't get it, man. Just let people live. I care about expanding child tax credits. I care about eviscerating child poverty. I care about healthcare. I don't know, these things are going to help you too. I'm pretty sure most Americans would agree at the end of the day, if the Democratic Party actually ran on that, instead of constantly picking up a, dare I say, cowardly posture and trying to always run defense after the Republicans end up dominating the political conversation in every issue, whether it be the crime hysteria, whether it be the immigrant crime hysteria and the panic that they cultivated. Instead of capitulating to the right-wing framing, if they actually ran on very progressive policies and said, like, do you want health care or not? Like, what are we talking about here? I think more Americans would be on board.
It seems unusual given the depth of the things that plague America, that what is working now is the very accurate "you're weird," running on a platform of "they're weird over there."
Yeah, but it's true, though, because it's true. It's honestly, like, I think it's much better than just talking about how, like, scary they are, how authoritarian the Republicans are. Because, like, do they present a genuine threat to American democracy? Potentially. I think so, definitely. But that actually gives the Republican Party, like, a sense of a sense of power, I think, and this actually deflects. This actually neutralizes that power and just says, no, dude, you're weird. Like, you're odd for hyper focusing on this sort of stuff. And I think that is that's something I've been doing for years. I call it hogwatch. I'm fascinated with Republicans in general. I love my countrymen. I love watching them in the wild. You know, I love watching the way they operate. I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I've noticed that, like, they've gotten increasingly more nutty on the timeline, especially with, like, social media becoming more right-wing with, like, Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. I heard you say you will never call it X. I agree. I will never call it X either. Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, making it more right-wing, like making it overtly more right-wing, and putting so much, like, violence on the timeline too, above all else. I think that this has created this false sense that Republican policies are actually more popular than they are. They're not. Like, most people don't care. Most people have never met a trans person. They don't think about trans people all that much. They probably might think, like, oh, it's a little weird. Like, I don't really understand this trans stuff. I thought it was only two genders. Whatever. I'm moving on. I care about being able to pay for my groceries. But there's a lot of people on the Republican Party, especially in the commentary sphere, that have just broken their minds on this issue, where that's all they care about. They're like, I don't care about anything. I want to make sure that we're melting like this 0.1% of the population. I want to do harm to this 0.1% of the population. It's like, dude, that's odd. Like, why do you care? You care more about trans stuff than trans people do. You know, I have trans friends. I have plenty of trans members in my community. They don't think about the latest and greatest in trans technology or trans culture in the same way that, like, a Ben Shapiro type does. It's like, it's so strange. Like, let people live. Let people breathe.
It's an easy winning position for your base if you're always perpetually focused on demonizing others so that you could protect white power. So that anyone who's different from the norm can't get to equality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is. I think it is a very children yelling in the park. I think it is a very. You're right. I mean, it's an old narrative. It's a cliche. They do it all the time. They used to do it for gay people in the 90s. And then, that became legal and normal with gay marriage. Then they had to move on to something else. They had to move on to trans people. And now the narrative is exactly still the same. Like, for trans people, they say the exact same stuff that they used to say about gay people in the 90s. But ultimately, I think you have to set up a counter to that. You know that this is going to be a talking point. And if you're the Democratic Party, you got to give the right something to sink their teeth into, right? You can't be constantly in a defensive posture against the right. You actually have to go forward with a bold agenda so they can call you a socialist. And then you have to talk about why that bold agenda is not necessarily bad. And it's actually good for Americans, right? Like, free lunch and free breakfast at schools, a Tim Walz policy, right? He passed it. He passed it in Minnesota. It was phenomenally popular. You think Republicans don't want their children to get free school lunch? Of course they do. Of course they like that. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's entirely too costly to take care of children in this country. Many people can't even think about that idea because they just don't have enough money. We have, we have two income households that still can't take care of children and have children. Child care is entirely too costly. One aspect of that is free school lunches. That's a good policy. Let the Republicans yell about how that's actually socialism and how that's bad. If you put forward a bold progressive agenda, if you actually get some done on the progressive side, sorry for cursing. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that on the show.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
In front of the kids, though,
but if you
geez.
Yeah, they can't hear me. It's all good. But if you get stuff done, Republicans are going to inevitably try to position themselves against that stuff. And these things are very popular ideas that are helpful for all Americans, right? So that's part of the reason why I think it's, I fault the Democratic Party a little bit for where we've gotten to in terms of the discourse here. But it's not like Republicans just started yelling about trans people. It's not like Republicans just started saying that like immigrants are doing crime and they're rapists and they're drug dealers or whatever. They've been saying that because they know that they have to actively campaign every day for 4 years and not every 4 years. Whereas Democrats, on the other hand, only campaign every 4 years when they remember they have to, run for office. And then they're like, whoa, this stuff, this immigration stuff, maybe it's gotten a little too out of hand. Maybe the Republicans are right, which is the dumbest thing you can do. I've said this before. It's like you got abortion, you have democracy. Those are like two major things. Now with Kamala Harris, obviously being the candidate and not Joe Biden, you also have age, you have instability, you have all these things. You can also talk about how progressive Kamala Harris is in comparison to Donald Trump. These are all in the pocket for you. This is your strong suit, right? Play to your strengths. Never talk about immigration. Never bring that up. Joe Biden should have never done the right-wing immigration bill. They should have never capitulated to right-wing framing on immigration. Democrats historically have always done things like this. They always tack to the right, but they always end up losing. They always end up losing because that's their strong suit. That's what they're good at. That's what the Republicans are good at. I don't know why you would, like, if you're LeBron, you don't have to play chess. You could do the dunk competition against like a grandmaster. You know what I mean? I don't understand why Democrats are like, I'm LeBron, one of the greatest athletes of all time, and no, I'm actually going to play chess instead of the dunk competition against a grandmaster like Hikaru or Magnus Carlsen or whatever. It just doesn't make sense.
Can you explain this part to me, though? Because Kamala touted that right-wing immigration bill in Atlanta last week, too. Like, why is it that that seems to be the point that both parties can agree on? I mean, the stuff with the deportation, it's a bit crazy.
A bit crazy. I mean, it's very crazy. And Donald Trump is talking about Eisenhower. He's talking about a word I can't say because it's a slur in the aftermath of the Bracero program, where we deported 1.3 million Mexicans from this country, including Mexican Americans, as a matter of fact. Not just people from, not people whose nation of origin is Mexico. We did that. We did that during World War I. We did that in the aftermath of World War II. And Donald Trump's touting that as a popular policy. And it's got like 60% approval right now. And a big part of the reason is because there's no counter messaging against that from the Democratic front. They have completely been captured by the right-wing framing on the matter. And obviously it's very racist, very fascist. I mean, it's just like straight Nazi Germany stuff. No one is thinking about like what 20 million, let's say there's 20 million migrants in this country that are undocumented. How exactly are you going to do the mass deportation? You're going to start going into brown neighborhoods with BORTAC, with the American Gestapo, special weapons and tactics for the Customs and Border Patrol, in what the ACLU calls constitution-free zones, and you're going to start doing door-knocking operations and cast a dragnet over brown communities, and then put them in CCOT style, like in El Salvador, like mass detention centers, mass deportation facilities. You're going to put them in front of one judge, 200 at a time, because there's 20 million people. That's a lot of people, right? You have to make this process as expedient as possible. So now you're putting 200 people at a time in front of a judge that is declaring them to be illegal. Then you have to put them in concentration camps. I mean, that's just straight Nazi Germany stuff. And I don't think anybody's talking about it on those terms. which I find to be abhorrent. I find it to be morally repugnant.
But to have agreement with neither one of the parties is being reasonable here. It's just everyone's getting dragged over to a place that what is that? How is it that we've arrived there? That is not anyone's idea of America in principle.
I know. And Americans are actually not of one mind on this. Immigration historically is one issue where Americans are consistently both very sympathetic to migrants on and also very Hitlerian in the same breath. These are, if you look at focus groups on immigration, you'll be shocked. A person will unironically say, I want mass deportations of all migrants living on U.S. soil. And in the next breath, we'll say something along the lines of, yeah, we should do amnesty actually for everyone that's been here. And it's how can you have these two opinions? That's because the Democratic Party is too scared. They refuse to actually have any sort of counter messaging on this front. And they just capitulate the right-wing framing every single time. They did this with the crime panic too. It's completely born out of hysteria. It's straight Hitlerian on the Republican side. And what's happening in America right now is not dissimilar to the rise of Hitler and Nazi Germany, in the sense that liberals also capitulated to in an effort not to adequately put up a strong fight and align with the communists and align with the trade unionists, align with the socialists against the rise of Nazis and the rise of fascism in Germany. They said, no, this guy is working within the confines of German politics. It's fine. And we all know what happened afterwards. It's called the ratchet effect. The Democrats regularly play the role of almost controlled opposition on a lot of issues, this one being one of them. It's the same with the bipartisan consensus on American foreign policy. This is basically, which I would consider to be fascist in general, but no one really cares about that. And this is fascism inward, bringing fascism back domestically, having concentration camps for people that don't look like you, that people whose immigration status could be quickly and expediently dealt with and turned into documented U.S. citizens who are already participating in the American economy in incredibly meaningful ways. People who statistically are less likely to do crimes than natural-born U.S. citizens. A fact that Democrats should be saying every single day of the week. They should be putting that front and center. It's just completely made up. This hysteria about migrant crime is completely made up. Crime is down. Crime is down in America across the board. Okay, crime is down. It readjusted back to the lowest levels that it was at pre-pandemic, right? And it's only going down further and further. So the idea that we have tens of millions of migrants crossing the border and they're doing crimes is so silly. It's okay, migrant detentions are up, crime is down. So what's going on? Is it that they're just doing less crime? Is that what it is? Well, turns out that is actually the case. All available empirical data on the matter shows undocumented immigrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are. I'll give you another fact. If you were to listen to the Republicans constantly talk about, sorry, my dog is actually sitting. Hey, Kaya, sit. Baby, sit.
That's a good dog. We haven't heard that dog once yet. What kind of dog are we talking about here?
Dog.
Yeah.
Good dog.
I'll show you.
I'll
show you her in a yeah, I'll show you her in a second. So the one thing that what was I talking about?
You were saying you were going to give us one good fact.
Think,
you have one good fact that we
mentioned
need.
Hitler a lot too.
Oh, I did mention Hitler a lot because that's unfortunately that's where we're going right now, and we're bouldering towards that. So, like I said, Democrats should constantly be talking about the fact that there is no readily available empirical data to suggest that immigrants are doing more crime. As a matter of fact, the only available empirical data shows the exact opposite of that reality. So it's a pure Republican hysteria, Republican panic, and it's really racist panic. One other thing I will tell you is this. Donald Trump talks about immigrants are responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths every year. That's what he says. He says that at his rallies. He says that as the RNC. I've never heard from a Democrat be like, yo, hold on. What are we talking about here? That seems like a big old deal. I've never heard a Democrat go, that seems insane to say. Let's take a look at the data. Well, I did look at the data. Customs and Border Patrol data shows. Do you want to know how many murders undocumented migrants committed this past fiscal year?
Yes, I would, because I did see what John Oliver did on what you're saying there, that migrant crime is a total fiction. There is nothing to support it. It's just a made-up phrase.
Yeah, it's completely made up. You want to know? I'll tell you what it is. I looked at the data. 23. So that means, and we've definitely heard 23 horrific, gruesome things that an undocumented citizen has done in this country. So that means that every single instance of a murder committed by an undocumented migrant was heavily publicized in this country in an effort to make you think like they're doing crimes every day. This doesn't mean that like undocumented migrants are responsible for zero crimes. Of course not. Everyone, they're human beings. Some human beings are going to do good things. Some human beings are going to do bad things. We're all a victim of our own circumstance. But you have to look at like, if this is how to deal with crime, you have to look at the entire group of people and see if they're responsible for an overwhelming share of the crime. And it turns out they're responsible for less crime. It's actually insane that we have this conversation. Donald Trump tries to link the undocumented, like the undocumented murder rate. He tries to claim that it's 100,000 because he tries to claim that it's fentanyl, right? It's actually the fentanyl that they're bringing over the border. Another total fabrication, completely made up. 90% of drugs that are coming across the border are apprehended. This is the Department of Homeland Security's own data. This is not, woke Marxist Hasan making this up. This is the Department of Homeland Security, okay? So according to the DHS data, and this was the same under Donald Trump, it's the same under Joe Biden, it'll be the same under Kamala Harris or whoever becomes president. The Department of Homeland Security's own data shows 90% of the drugs apprehended at the border are not actually like border crossers, right? It's not a law-abiding abuela from Guatemala who walked all the way to America or tried to cross the Rio Grande River, like carrying bags of fentanyl over the border. That would be insane. That's an unsustainable business. That's an unsustainable operation. You know who's actually trafficking the drugs? White American citizens that are crossing over the border after getting their cars chopped up by the cartel. Of course, 90% of the drugs are apprehended at regular points of entry, according to the Department of Homeland Security's data, and more than 90% of those apprehended are American citizens because they're the ones who are less likely to get stopped.
Like we're the Millers.
That's
This
it.
this guy is full of. He doesn't know at all of the fentanyl carrying abuelas we have in Miami. And you look
Tell
like
that to my grandma Juana.
You look like Miami. You were briefly.
I lived there.
You were briefly in Miami.
I think he's there now. I've been to that park. I know that park.
It looks a little like South Beach, but it is not that
I think
park.
It's Coral Springs.
It's not the park in South Beach. We've got a couple of questions on the way out. We've got a couple of questions. We need to see the dog, and we need to know what kind of basketball drills you were doing.
Yep.
I follow a bunch of TikTokers. This is my dog. First of all,
Nice.
here she is. This is Kaya.
That's a good girl.
She's a very good girl. She's the best girl. She's a little baby still. She is only around 18 months. But she's very well trained. She's a big dog. She's a mutt. She's a mix between Chow Chow Tibetan Mastiff and a Saint Bernard. That's number one. Number two, what kind of drills do I do?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been a while. I haven't played organized basketball at all in many years, since high school. As a matter of fact, that's multiple decades at this point almost. So I just look at TikTok, whatever pops up on my TikTok feed. I see there's those guys good drills. I post good drills. I forget what that dude's name is, but they'll always have some drills on there, and then I try to do some of that stuff so that I could be a little bit more explosive in my old age, because unfortunately I'm a little too slow. I'm 6'4", I'm 230 pounds.
6'4".
And yeah, I'm entirely too slow. This is like, what is that? That's like a shooting guard status in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Steve Kerr was 6'5". He's
Yeah.
going to post you up. Steve Kerr would have posted you up at 6'5".
Can you dunk?
That's what I'm saying. I used to be able to. My knees are pretty bad.
Right.
Come on,
I
give
wear
it a
knee
try.
braces.
That's
Go.
why he's
Give it a
getting the
try.
insides.
Let's give it a try.
I wear knee braces. I can't.
Maybe today's
dunk
the
right
day,
now.
though.
Yeah,
You
you never know.
Right.
Yeah,
Good,
maybe.
good talking to you. I will tell the people. You can follow his Twitch channel at Hasan A B as in boy I. Thank you. Good catching up with you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you, sir. Jess, do you have an update for us? I need an update. What kind of update do we have?
Breaking news from Jimmy Traina. Charles Barkley to remain at TNT. Will not join ESPN, NBC, or Amazon. Will not retire.
Oh, Jesus.
Shocker. He's going to kill it on the NHL coverage.
Golf.
How are they going to do that?
Well, I did actually read that they plan to utilize him on their NHL coverage, and Charles is a huge hockey fan and often appears there during the playoffs. But they have loads of sports properties.
College football now.
Yeah, they license the college football playoff, a couple of college football playoff
Baseball,
games.
March Madness.
Baseball.
They have 2 majors in golf. Charles loves golf.
AEW, Wednesday Night Dynamite.
Charmed watch-alongs.
They know drama,
Ooh.
man. Figure it out.
But what about the show? What about the entire show and the basketball
Well, I'll be
show?
curious to see if they continue that without the NBA rights. It'll be a bold move. Maybe they call it Inside the Basketball.
Huh.
How are we going to do that? What sense does that report make? Ernie Johnson, I actually talked to Charles last week, and he did say that there's no way Ernie Johnson is going anywhere, that he's almost 70 years old, and that is his family, so he would not be leaving. But I'm surprised because he was mulling those other offers. I am surprised. He did not mention that he was thinking about going back there. So when you say that to me, I thought he was going to either entertain offers or retire. You're surprising me with that.
Well, it's curious. I mean, he does have a contract that extends. I don't know how they drew that one up. Let's have Charles locked up to a contract that extends beyond the NBA.
It's 10 years, $200 million was the contract that he signed.
So really, it's like it's a report that obviously a lot of people are interested in it, but all this is like both parties agree to honor their contract.
I would watch that pregame and postgame without the basketball game in between. Wouldn't you? Like, I've done it before. I've watched the pregame, I've tuned into the postgame, and not watched the game. Like, I would still trot that out if I was TNT.
Outside the NBA.
Beyond the NBA.
That's something that show has the sense of humor to do. Outside the NBA, to cross out the inside and just change it to outside the NBA.
That'd be great.
Greg Cody, what were your thoughts on what it is that we just did? Because this is an unusual thing that happened to me. It's happened, I'm going to say, maybe 4 times in my entire career doing this. We're about 6 minutes into that interview. I could feel a heat on the back of my neck that felt like the audience breathing on it, saying, change the subject.
Well, they would have really loved what happened 18 minutes into it.
Well,
Wait, the dog?
6 minutes, yes.
No, that was about 36 minutes into it.
Yes, when that got going, I could feel the audience saying, this is not what we tune in over here for.
It wasn't when you said Baith.
I was a little worried that we had too much Hitler, and that was before the interview.
That was a lot of that in the show.
There's a lot today. Yeah.
Greg
but we don't
Cody-
work for ESPN anymore. I had a counter on that stuff. Whereas if we went over, I'm like, all right, guys, let's try to not go over that much. But here, no longer with ESPN, we can invoke that more. I guess.
think you worry too much about the people breathing on your neck. I thought that was a good segment, and if you want to talk about that, it's your show. Isn't that why you started your own company?
Yeah.
Screw the people breathing down
You know
your
who
neck.
wasn't breathing on your neck? Greg, because he could hold his breath for a minute. He did that today. Incredible.
No, before that interview, I said to myself, how on earth does this guy talk politics for 8 straight hours a day? In the middle of the interview, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I get it now.
Right.
This guy doesn't stop talking.
I'm thinking at 8 hours, he's just getting started.
Nothing personal, but come on, man. Take a breath once in a while. Shorten your answers. Jiminy cricket.
It was an interesting message to tell the Democrats from a young face that's now associated with the parties. You have the right for your party to fight.
Yes.
Greg, you were nodding vigorously throughout all of that because all of us are accused at all times of being an echo chamber.
I happen to align with many of his beliefs. Not to talk politics, but he was good. He was good. I was trying to get in a word edgewise. It's like I needed a shoehorn to try to work in a question because he just didn't stop talking. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was really, really good.
Surprised he can't dunk.
I think anybody who's into this presidential race will be fascinated.
I don't think our cast is an echo chamber. We have very, very different opinions between people just on the show.
I'm a registered Republican. Still. so I can fight it from the inside.
This is not an echo chamber.